Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off the Sports Web, bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28, on with us talking, of course, around the NFL, Bucs football, whatever else you want to talk about. At 10 o'clock, we will have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It's Sports Mag. James Coleman talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Leonard Fournette. And then after that, Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. And then, of course, your phone call, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Of course, this show is brought to you by, as it is every night, by MyCannabisCard.com, the nation's first and largest cannabis card doctor network and home of the guaranteed fast-track cannabis card approval with over 2,500 state licensed doctors and 30-plus qualifying conditions. MyCannabisCard.com is by far the easiest and most cost-effective way to secure your cannabis as stress-free from the comforts of your own home. It's MyCannabisCard.com, and tell them the Sports Web, Peter Blake, and Bucs Report sent you. So with all that out of the way, we have your open phone line. My question for the night, very simple, guys. Should the Bucs pursue Leonard Fournette? 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Mr. Al Keck. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, and we are only 10 days away from the start of the National Football League season and 13 days for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You keep hoping that there isn't some crazy thing that goes on and spoils all of this. So, we're getting closer and closer day by day.
We are getting closer day by day, and you start to feel more and more optimistic about it. You see the Bucs scrimmage on Friday, although it wouldn't be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer offseason without some kicking drama, if you will, as according to various sources, the Bucs are bringing in 2 more kickers and a Ryan Suckup and also a Cody Parkey, because it seems like they're not very confident in Matt Gay or Elliott Fry. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of Groundhog Day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it comes to kickers. It's been a frustration for years, recent years anyway. And Matt Gay certainly had his opportunity last year and really had trouble very late in the season and was going from what was a solid year to a frustrating year at the end. And apparently things have not really gone that well for either kicker so far in training camp. And I think, in fact, I know Bruce Arians is not going to mess with this. There will be a very short leash, and Matt Gay and Elliott Fry could very easily both be unemployed here very soon unless things start to turn around. Now, Fry was especially bad in the scrimmage on Friday. They have continued to kick ever since, and I think Gay showed a little bit more, but not enough to really keep the Bucs from bringing people in to take a look at them. And again, this year, bringing people in is not like it used to be in the past, where you just brought people in on Tuesdays. And Tuesdays was just kind of a tryout day. Now you've got to bring in candidates, quarantine them, get them through that system, and then they get an opportunity to go on the field and kick. So it's a lot more complicated. And so you want to be semi-careful in bringing new people in for tryouts because of the obvious possibilities. So if the Bucs are still doing that, that tells you how frustrated they are right now with their kicking game.
All right, good stuff. And this goes back to the comments from Keith Armstrong and also from Bruce Arians, with Armstrong saying in so many words, like 3 times, consistency. We need consistency out of our kickers. Bruce Arians echoes that by saying, I'm looking for consistency on the gimmies. We can't miss extra points. We can't give away those easy points. Kick inside the 30-yard line should be automatic. So like you said, on Sunday, Fry went 3 for 5. Gay went 4 for 5. Only miss was a 50-yard field goal, but both kickers have seemed like they have struggled. And this goes back to last year with Gay missing the field goal versus the Giants, as we've talked about before, costing him a game. To give him credit and to be fair, he went 17 for 18. But after that, he had his rough patches and moments where not only he had difficulty in hitting 30, 40-yard field goals, but also extra points, which absolutely were an indictment on the Bucs, where if you kick one of those field goals or at least make those extra points against the Falcons, you're not going to lose.
Well, again, Bruce Arians makes it very clear. It's the missed extra points and the short field goals that are driving them crazy, and rightfully so. Because if the offense drives it down that far, they've got to expect they get some points out of that. And if they don't, because of a miss because of a kicker, the frustrations are just really going to mount. So I just get the impression that Bruce Arians isn't going to mess with things, and I have a feeling that the Buccaneers are keeping a very close eye on the waiver wire. And if there's a kicker out there that they have any interest in, I would not be surprised at all if the Buccaneers bring him in and any of these guys could be replaced. A guy that everyone, especially with Tom Brady and Gronk, everyone wants to wonder about, and you just have to think about, would be Stephen Gostkowski, obviously the former Patriots kicker, and a guy that had a great career with the Patriots. He, I believe, is available. Would they have any interest there? Because that's about as consistent as you can get. He's battled some injuries, but would that be someone that the Bucs would have any interest in, or that any team would have any interest in, and maybe make a move there and another kicker becomes available? Bottom line, the Buccaneers obviously are not happy with their kicking game.
Yeah, and again, it's in the past, it's cost them, and a lot of people say, well, it's kicking, it's just kicking. You score touchdowns, yeah, but you also have to kick extra points. So, guys out there, are you concerned about this kicking situation? It continues to come up here on the Sports Web. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Now, as we started off this show, Leonard Fournette was waived today. It looks like he could be possibly a free agent. And when asked about it, Bruce Arians says, we'll wait and see. He's been a good player. We have to see where he fits. That's kind of a head scratcher because, look, if the Bucs are supposedly happy with their whole running back situation, why wouldn't he say, you know what, like Antonio Brown, he's just not a fit in this locker room? Al, he didn't say that.
Well, it's because he's not happy with the run game. And that was very, very evident. What was it, earlier this week? I think they had, was it Monday? It was either Sunday or Monday, where the running game was just horrid. And people weren't making gains. I mean, the whole thing was a mess. Now, Ronald Jones was hurt at that time and just came back, I believe, in the last day or so. So it was not the day that was really bad, but he has just returned. I'm forgetting what day it is. It's Monday. So he has just returned from injury, and I don't think the Bucs are all that happy with their running game. And I think you have to ask yourself a very simple question. Is Leonard Fournette better than Ronald Jones? And I think that's something the Bucs are going to look at. The question is, and what's going to be the deciding factor here is money and how much room is there under the cap in order for them to make some kind of move. Now, Fournette doesn't have the biggest contract either. So both are basically coming off on their rookie contracts. So what kind of room do the Bucs have in order to bring a Leonard Fournette in? Obviously, they got a bargain basement deal on LaShawn McCoy, but McCoy certainly did not look all that good in this recent day where the running backs just couldn't get their act together. So I don't think the Bucs are all that impressed with their running game. And the question is Leonard Fournette better than Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones has his moments, but is so unbelievably inconsistent. Leonard Fournette's big problem is not so much. I'm not sure obviously he's a power back. Do the Bucs really need a power back? Now, he was much improved last year with catching the ball and coming out of the backfield. I think he had 73, 76 catches.
Yeah, 76.
And, 76, which is, I think the fifth most among running backs last year in the NFL. So obviously, he's a weapon catching the football coming out of the backfield, and that's something that the Buccaneers are going to expect from their running back. I think Jones is faster. I think Fournette is stronger and tougher. It just depends on what they want from the running back. And, the problem right now is, you've got the Saints coming up in 2 weeks. Can you bring a new guy in and get him ready for the Saints on opening day if you were to bring him in by the end of the week? So there's a lot of ifs there. I just don't think the Bucs are all that enamored with their running game right now. And some of these guys just have to get their act together. And my frustration is it always seems to be something with these running backs.
Yeah, and why would you take the chance if you have an opportunity to get a number one back who, 2017 fourth overall pick, has been somewhat productive. Of course, he's had his injury stuff and he's had some other stuff. But I'll tell you right now, let's go out to Johnny Dean because I know he has something to say. Let's go out to one of my favorite webheads. Johnny Dean, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. What's on your mind?
All right, I was going to talk about the thing. All right, if they look at Leonard Fournette seriously, then you might. That's the end of Rojo. If Leonard Fournette gets signed, Rojo's gone.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree with you. Because
Leonard Fournette's a first round or second round draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
and he's a number 2 overall pick, actually.
No, he's 4th overall, I thought.
He was 4th.
4th overall,
Fourth
but
overall.
he's top 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
You're not going, and he's been in the league 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2,631 yards, 17 touchdowns in those 3 years.
Correct.
All right.
Right.
All right. From what I'm seeing, his major problem with the Jags is the fact that he can't quit cussing out fans in stadiums, and that he drives without driver's licenses.
Okay.
Doesn't pay fine.
I mean, that's something you definitely would have to explore, right? I mean, somebody mentioned this today.
You're not going to sign Fournette to be a backup running back Rojo. You're not.
Well, I think they can both share carries here, Johnny. That's what I'm looking at. They can both share carries, could they not?
Fournette is going to look for money.
Well, I don't know if
He's going to come out. He's going to play for a contract.
Okay.
He's going to play for a contract, and he's going to want to be the number 1 guy. He's not going to be a number 2 guy.
But here's what you got, Johnny Dean, and Al, you can comment on this. You have the golden ticket. You have Tom Brady. You have the Tom Brady effect. Do you think you can
for 1 year?
Okay, but we're not. Again, you have a 2-year window, right? You have $2 million, $2.24 million according to Over the Cap. So they have some money to play with. My thing is that throughout this whole process, Al and Johnny, we've heard Bruce Arians be discontent with the running back situation besides McCoy. We know that McCoy's not going to be your bell cow. He's going to be your 3rd guy. But Keyshawn Vaughn, supposedly your 3rd round back, not only has missed lots of reps, but he has been not very good. So if you get an opportunity to get a former 1st round pick for what, $2 to $4 million, you wouldn't jump on it just for a year?
I'm not saying no. I'm saying that it's going to be the end of Rojo when he signs.
I don't see it being the end of Rojo. I think they can split those carries out. I think they're gonna have a committee anywhere it goes.
Peter, look at the numbers, and they're not going to pay two top running back.
Okay, so Johnny, I guess my question is this: if you lost Rojo, what do you have to back him up?
You still have the same team behind him that you have now.
You've got unproven. You've got an unproven and a Keyshawn Vaughn.
Exactly, and Fournette's proven, but he's not been proven to be able to work in the locker room either.
What do you say, Al?
Well, here's the other thing, guys. If it gets to the point to where the Bucs can get Fournette, they're not going to take him off waivers, which means that his contract is out the window, which means you're taking the 4th player overall in a draft that did not get his 5th year picked up, that has just been cut, and he has very little bargaining power.
Correct.
So if you're going to bring him in, it's probably going to be in a very team-friendly deal. Now, would that be something that the Bucs would look at, knowing that Fournette is a major pain in the ass and may not be worth everything he does off the field? And I think Bruce Arians, there are two sides to Bruce Arians. There's a side of Bruce Arians that if he feels you're worth it, he'll give you a little leash. But at the same time, if on a team like this, he's going to have very little patience with the guy that he's got to babysit. And that's going to be the question. And I think really it comes down to the 2 running backs. Again, Fournette, stronger, maybe, definitely more powerful, maybe a better receiver at the running back position than Rojo. Rojo, I think, has more speed, has more big play capability, but he is ungodly inconsistent. So that's what you're looking at. And it may be a deal to where they don't even look at Leonard Fournette. There may be someone else that comes across the waiver wire that maybe that the Buccaneers may look at even closer. And Rojo can, get the start in week 1, maybe week 2, you bring someone in here in the next week or so, get him ready. And that may be a guy that ends up getting a lot of carries during the first part of the season.
Yeah, and there was
That's
talk,
the direction I'm leaning to, Al.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
What's that?
Go ahead, Al.
No, I was asking Johnny.
I said that's what you just said is the direction I'm leaning to. I don't really see
That could
him.
very well be. I just don't. I mean, Leonard Fournette. I mean, I was impressed with Leonard Fournette like everybody else when he was at LSU, and I liked the first year of Leonard Fournette. But after that, he just never. I mean, if you've got the 4th pick in the draft and you do not pick up his 5th year, that is especially for a team like Jacksonville that has built this offense, much of that offense around Leonard Fournette. I mean, you've got Gardner Minshew as your quarterback, so whomever is running the football in Jacksonville is going to be a major weapon. If they still let him go in that situation, that's got to tell you something. Even though he had fairly decent numbers last year and did a great job catching the ball coming out of the backfield. So I just get the impression, especially in Jacksonville, that he just wasn't worth all the hassles. And if Bruce Arians sees that, I think the only way that they really look at bringing him in is if they get him on such a cheap deal that it's a win-win for them. They can't lose. But I can see them definitely bringing in a veteran running back that can do some things. And maybe someone we're not even thinking of. It may be a late trade. It may be a waiver wire thing, after some cuts. And I think they will definitely add to their running back room before the season opener against the Saints, whomever that is. I just can't see Leonard Fournette because of all of his troubles off the field. But, because the last thing, believe me, Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want right now is a head case when you got Tom Brady and all this stuff moving forward.
It's true, but I think his discontent was with the Jacksonville franchise because of the direction he knew they were moving into. And we feel like at this point, right now, they're going for a Trevor Lawrence. So, look, I'm not saying he's the perfect running back. I'm just saying Bruce Arians didn't rule it out. And I feel like even if you do pick him up, because he is on a 1-year deal, Rojo is still young. You need 2 or 3 running backs in this league. I'm just kind of worried about not hearing about Keyshawn Vaughn as much as we anticipated. And I think the COVID, any other year, I'm saying no, it's not possible because you drafted Keyshawn Vaughn with a 3rd-round pick, but you haven't heard anything about him. And then on top of it, once again, going back to what Bruce Arians said, how effective is a rookie going to be if he's missing 400 reps? That's all I'm looking at. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of when he was asked about it today, he didn't rule it out. It wasn't an Antonio Brown situation where he said he doesn't fit. He said he was going to try to make it fit, see where it could fit. That's all. So,
well, let's remember that Keyshawn Vaughn did play better today and had his moments today. But as you mentioned, this was one of the first times in all of training camp that Keyshawn Vaughn has really done anything positive on a consistent basis during a workout.
Yeah.
So I believe they will add to their running back room. It just may not be Leonard Fournette. And if they do sign Leonard Fournette, it is going to be a deal that is heavily Buccaneer advantaged.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a moment because CBS Sportsline wrote about that. Anything else, Johnny Dean?
Yeah, just the point that the reason Arians didn't like Brown was because of his arguments with the quarterback. And Fournette, his whole deal right now is because the Jaguars didn't sign Cam Newton.
Correct.
So, and Fournette was on record for criticizing Minshew. So, I don't know. I just don't see it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Let
me ask you this, Johnny Dean. He did do that. You're exactly right. And that's not good. And even Doug Marrone talked about that today. Do you think the main reason why we want to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Tom Brady? Do you think he's going to be critical of Tom Brady?
I can't tell you, because I can't put my finger on this guy. He's up and down. He's almost like Antonio Brown, just not as extreme. He's so up and down in his off-field attitude and stuff. I mean, dude, he couldn't pay a $204 fine to keep his driver's license come on, man. That just is irresponsible.
Bad decision. No, I agree with you on that. All right, good stuff, Johnny Dean. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. All right.
All right.
All right. Later. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where you calling from? You're on with yours truly, along with Al Keck.
This is Frank with BucsFans.com from Plant City.
Okay. What's going on, Frank? Welcome to the evolution. What's on your mind?
The only reason why we sign Fournette is if he can clear a 55-yard field goal, okay? There's no reason for us to sign him. I think we're going to have a running back committee.
You're okay with Keyshawn Vaughn and Rojo? I like Rojo. I think he didn't get enough touches, but let's say he goes down. Are you happy with those backups?
I think our offense is going to be 60-40.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, Frank, are you going to be happy with those running backs behind him? Are you happy with the Keyshawn Vaughn, who's never carried the rock in the league? Are you going to be happy with the Dare Ungabule? Are you going to be happy with a Raymond Calais or LaShawn McCoy?
Well, it's hard to tell. But signing Fournette, who already has some problems and is already got some baggage with him. I mean, I don't think it's something that's going to fit the Bucs locker room anyway. I think Arians was just playing it cool just in case there's a deal that comes across the table that he wants to, that's worthwhile looking into. I mean, I think that's why he didn't shut it down like he did AB. But at the end of the day, I don't see us signing him. I think if we're going to sign someone, it's going to be after, after things get going and we, maybe need another running back as a backup.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. What do you want to say about the kicking game? Because you mentioned the kicking game. Are you worried about Matt Gay and Elliott Fry?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't need to be worried about it. Obviously, Coach Arians is, or he wouldn't be bringing other kickers to try out. I mean, obviously, we still got a little bit of a curse still with the kicking game since I think the last good kicker we had was Matt Bryant or something like that back in the day. But
right.
We're going to need a kicker. We're going to need a kicker to at least kick the extra points and, be able to, wrap those things up because I don't see our offense not – I see our offense scoring a lot. So we need some extra points there at least at minimum.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
What do you guys think? What do you think the Bucs are going to do with the fan situation? Any thoughts on that? Are they going to let some people come to the games or what?
Let me answer that, and I'll go to Al. The recent report from ABC Action News is 14,000. I mean, Al, do you think they go 14,000? Could they go a little bit more, or could they be like a lot of NFL teams and take a wait-and-see approach?
It's going to be ever-changing, and it's going to be, again, wait and see, and let's see what's going on. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen Friday. We don't know what's going to happen at New Orleans. So we certainly don't know what's going to happen for the Bucs' first home game. So there's so many ifs out there. I just think it's going to be a thing to where they're really going to have to wait and see. And this thing will be very fluid, believe me. But the second that the Blazers are given the go-ahead to put people in the stands, they will definitely do it because they've been waiting since the Super Bowl to have an opportunity like this. And so they will do everything they can to get as many people in the building as possible. And we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. There you go. So it's up in the air right now. Of course, we've got 13 days until the regular season starts against the Saints, but I kind of think they're going to take a wait-and-see approach. I think they may go 14,000. Who knows? Maybe they go a little bit more eventually. But, a lot of teams have kind of taken a different approach on this. The Giants and the Jets, of course, they have no fans. The Eagles have no fans. But there's other teams around the league like the Saints. They're going to start out with no fans. They're going to monitor the situation. And if the situation gets better, then they'll bring back the fans.
And did they decide on whether they're going to allow the noise or the game sound, crowd noise?
Well, I definitely think that's going to happen. And we heard from Tom Brady on Friday making a joke of how the Bucs during the scrimmage, pushed in the sound, and it sounded like the RTA Dome back in the day. He was joking around about that. So I would expect if they don't have fans, you could definitely feel like they're going to pipe in that sound into those stadiums. Definitely going to do that, right, Al?
Oh, they'll do something, and they have to, if nothing else, for the broadcast. And so I think you've seen on baseball telecasts, basketball telecasts, hockey telecasts, you do have a little bit of sound there, background noise. And after a while, you really don't even notice that there aren't people in the stands. But football could be a completely different animal. And I'm sure they will do something so that it's just not dead silent out there, but they will pipe in some stuff. And again, the first game is going to be very interesting because the Saints aren't going to have anybody there. So there will be a lot of piped in noise. And it's hard to say what's going to happen from there. This is all going to be changing week by week. And city by city, state by state, because it's different. You know, there are different guidelines in every place around the National Football League. So you would think in most situations that the league would just make a rule and say, okay, to start off the season, it's just going to be no fans. But in cities to where you could, this is not as big a problem as it is in other places. And if you can get 14,000 fans in your building, especially with the economics and what it's like right now for pro sports, you're going to get those 14,000 people in the building.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I saw a report. Alvin Kamara has been sitting out for the last couple of days, unexcused absence. How do you guys think that might play out by the time the Saints play the Bucs?
Wow. I mean, if you're a Bucs fan right now, you have to be pretty excited because Kamara, when McCaffrey signed his contract, he said he wasn't concerned. And now what you come to find out here, according to Adam Schefter, Al and Frank, is that he has had 3 days of missed practices. Those are unexcused absences. So already, you know, the Saints had an injury to Andres Pete to their offensive line, and they could be without their biggest weapon in Kamara. You got to feel like, Al, they have to get something done with him. So I'm not sure, because what you hear here, Frank and Al, is the fact that the Saints are cap strapped. So I think it's up in the air. I'm not sure what they're going to have to do to get him in uniform, if they even have him.
Well, we're still double-digit days away from that game.
Correct.
And just because he's missed 3 practices right now is no different than a rolled up ankle. So believe me, as it gets closer to game time next week, I think something will come together. Either that or Camaro will show up at practice, and because this is going to be a different year, you know, you don't want to miss game checks. You don't want to miss game checks, no matter how badly you want a new contract. And I think, we'll see who blinks first. But I seriously doubt you're going to see Alvin Kamara sitting out that very first game.
Yeah, I mean, he means a lot to that Saints offense. It's not just Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. So you feel like they're going to have to get something done. But right now, he's still under his rookie deal where he's making $2 million a year. You look at Christian McCaffrey, 4 years, $64 million. Let me ask you guys, and Frank, if you're a general manager of the Saints, are you giving Kamara a big deal? I get that McCaffrey got a big deal, but are you going to give a running back a big deal with knowing what we know when you have a Todd Gurley who's been given a good deal, has definitely not lived up to it? Now he's with the Atlanta Falcons. Would you give, you look at, Dalvin Cook, who's been hurt. He wants a big type of contract. Would you give him a big type of contract?
I think you got to. I think you got to do something similar to McCaffrey, because he's more like a McCaffrey type running back, more of a
good point.
A guy that catches passes out of the backfield. He's not more of a round and pound it. So I think you got to maybe stretch out the term and give him some money so he can stay.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. All right, thanks a lot for calling the Sports Web. Definitely use your second or third call. All right, boss?
All right, thanks, Lee.
All right, there you go. Good stuff. Open phone line, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Now, I got to make you a little bit upset here, Al Keck. Of course, we got the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend. This comes from Diana Rossini. Now, I don't know if we really talked about this last week, but sports broadcasting from ESPN feels like not only will the Bucs not make the playoffs, but they're actually going to be worse with Tom Brady. Your thoughts?
Well, again, what have I always said? It's everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you just have to decide if it's an informed opinion. And my feelings about Diana Rossini. I'm not sure that's the most informed opinion out there. So everyone is going to, she's paid to say things. And so if this is, and I get the impression in watching her that whomever talked to her last, that's her best opinion. And I'm not going to lose sleep over what she said, because I don't care, good, bad, indifferent, or whatever. I don't really listen to what she says.
All right, good stuff.
And that's got nothing to do with whether or not I agree with her.
Right.
It just isn't something there that I see that's valuable to really think deeply about for me. Now, other people may feel differently, and that's your opinion, but not what I feel.
All right, let's go out to the webheads here. Read these guys' comments. Let's see. Johnny Dean says, boom. Christopher Cole says 12 days until kickoff. I believe it's 13 days, but, whatever. It'll be 12 days by the end of the night. Fire those cannons, so we shall. All right, I don't think we need another running back, says Christopher Cole. Boom. Christopher Cole says no. Frank says no need. Peter says we're good at running back. Again, Leonard Fournette talk. That's the question of the night to you webheads out there. Do you want the Bucs to pursue Leonard Fournette? Do you think they should pursue him? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. They've been going against the number one run defense, excuse me. Cannon says hi, says Miss Taylor Allen. Thanks a lot. Hi, Cannon. Johnny Dean, I think Vaughn will grow into his role by midseason at the least. Connor Barth was solid for us until he tore up his knee. 2-1, Tampa Bay in the third. I believe that's the Lightning over Boston, looking to close the series out tonight. Let's see here. Alkek, a goat for saying that. Laughed my ass off. Let's see. Brandon Spikes, Buccaneers Super Bowl. Stitton says go Bucs. And Sheep Clickbait says Frank. So, just going back to this article from CBS Sportsline here. They say the Bucs once again have 2.24 according to Over the Cap. Fournette isn't in position to command big money. A one-year prove-a deal would give him the chance to join a club on the verge of becoming a winner. On the verge of becoming a winner with an offense that's loaded with receiving talent under a proven head coach, behind a six-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, and right next door to the team he loathes in North Florida. It's perfect for Fournette. Truly, he could parlay a dynamic 2020 multi-year deal with a running back needy Bucs next offseason. As far as the future goes, should he stick around, the Bucs would have a rotation of Fournette, Ronald Jones II, Keyshawn Vaughn, or Raymond Calais. So this really becomes more and more of a no-brainer if you think about it. Tampa Bay is all in on winning a Super Bowl in 2020, and signing Fournette would play right into that narrative. So that's what they think now. According to Doug Marrone, the reason why he was waived, and again, he has to go through waivers. So, of course, the waiver order is the Bengals, Washington, Detroit, as follows. And you would think that nobody would pick up that contract because it is $4 million. So somebody out there may not necessarily want to pick it up. But Doug Marrone, the coach, says, at the end of the day, I've got to be able to fill the team that gives us the best chance to win. According to John Oster from the team's website, of course, the Jaguars have Chris Thompson, Reginald Well, Armstead, and Divine Ozabingo. I never heard of these guys in my life, besides maybe a Chris Thompson. So Leonard Fournette doesn't give that team the best chance to win. That's not a bad thing, because basically the Jaguars right now are trying to tank for Trevor Lawrence, right?
And that's what a lot of this is about. All that being said, who wrote that CBS Sports article?
It's CBS Sportsline. I didn't get the author on it.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing. This is clearly a piece where, and this is exactly what I mean when I say, is it an informed opinion? Mm-hmm. And what he's doing, everything he mentioned, is something that any football fan in this area can certainly draw correlations to. Okay. And it's all pretty obvious. in trying to draw lines from Jacksonville to here. I mean, we have heard rumors for months that the Bucs were going to trade for Leonard Fournette, but you never heard that stuff coming out of anybody from the Buccaneers or hinted from anybody with the Buccaneers. And normally in a situation like that, there'd be tea leaves there would be little comments here where you get an idea. That is not the case here. And if the Buccaneers wanted Leonard Fournette, they could have had him some time ago. And if they want him, I think that it was very obvious that why would you trade for him? Just like nobody else in the National Football League traded for him. There will be nobody in the National Football League, I don't believe, that will take him off waivers and have him under that contract. So I believe Leonard Fournette will find a team to play for, but it's going to be after he's cleared waivers.
Agree.
He is a free agent, absolutely no bargaining power, and it would be a 1-year prove it type of deal to where it's got to be a contract to where you got nothing to lose. And if he ends up being a pain in the neck, well, then you haven't lost anything. You let him go. I just don't think the Bucs want any part of that this year. Now, last year, who knows? Maybe, but not with Tom Brady and not with this team and not with everything else going on. But I do think, as we've talked about, that I do think that they will look at another running back. And again, it may not be a big name. It may not be a familiar face. It may not be someone that we would know immediately coming out of the gate, as far as picking a guy up, after the cuts are made. But I just don't see Leonard Fournette unless it's such a team-laden deal that they can't lose.
Yeah, no. Let's watch Johnny Dean. Johnny Dean, the professor. Welcome back to the evolution of sports talk television. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that contract, Matt. Fournette's under a $4 million guarantee, has $4 million guaranteed from the Jaguars coming, right? That's what you're talking about.
Correct.
But the Jaguars at the moment, right now, are trying to void that contract because of conduct detrimental to the team.
Correct.
It was supposed to be in this contract. He's voided it a couple of times. So that I don't think that $4 million is going to be an issue whatsoever with anybody.
Okay.
Well, unless someone picks him up off waivers,
right?
Then they're now committed to that contract. But no one's going to pick up that contract, and he will clear waivers. Once he clears waivers, then it's a moot point.
Right.
The Jaguars will probably still be on the hook for that $4 million, regardless of if Leonard Fournette signs a $20 million deal with somebody else. So once he clears waivers, then he's a free agent, and he's got to negotiate the best deal he can. And he has no bargaining power right now. None. So
none. Yeah, he's not like in a position like Njoku was.
Correct. Who just got traded yesterday.
Njoku, look at Njoku. He didn't really get a great deal himself, but at least he got out of there smoothly.
Well, I mean, he wanted to get out of there. Everybody wants to get out of Jacksonville, and I get what you're saying. A lot of people assume that he may end up with the New England Patriots because of his talk with Cam Newton. It's Chicago Bears. They may overpay for him because they need a running back right now. They lost David Montgomery for 2 to 4 weeks. He has a groin injury. So there's teams out there. I'm just saying you got the golden ticket and a Tom Brady. I like what the Bucs have at running back. I'm just a little bit concerned, and I'm just a little bit miffed that Bruce Arians didn't, and all we heard about was the fact that there was trade discussions. The Jaguars are trying to get something for him. The Bucs wouldn't budge. What if the Bucs knew all along that they were just going to cut him anyway so they could get him out there on the cheap? I don't have any problem with it if it improves your team, and that's why I get a little bit upset when people say, well, all the fans, all they want to do is every player that gets cut. They just want to improve the team. They're just not sure if the running back situation is good enough. And remember, this team was 26th in running. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher in Doug Martin in a long time. I love Ronald Jones. I think he needs more carries. 172 attempts is way too less. I mean, they need to get more carries for him, more touches. But I also feel like that if you have a number one running back out there who, by the way, had a career year, and you can get him on the cheap without giving up anything, I think you have to kick those tires. Just saying.
Well, let's remember. Let's remember. The Buccaneers did not. I mean, they could have given up a 6th or 7th round draft pick for him,
Right?
because you're talking a Leonard Fournette here. But if you do that, you then own that contract, and there's
Correct.
no way. That's why nobody made a trade for the guy, and that's why no one's going to pick him up off waivers. If
Right.
Leonard Fournette gets a deal, it's going to be a completely new team-friendly deal to where he's got 1 year to prove that he can still be a presence in the National Football League, and rightfully so with the problems he's had off the field. So to me, that's not surprising. As far as Ronald Jones is concerned, he's been given every opportunity out there to take this job and excuse the expression, but take this job and run with it. And he hasn't, because he doesn't know his blocking assignments, because he makes other mistakes. And he's had chances to have this job all to himself. And the Bucs have done everything they could, because they invested a 2nd round pick in this guy to make sure that he is the guy. But even now in training camp, you're still hearing things that he doesn't have his act together. And I'm just lost patience with the guy. And sometimes it's just not going to work out, even though all the metrics and all the speed and all the bench presses and all the film, even though all that stuff says he should work out, it just doesn't at this level. And that's why I think they will look, when they make final cuts, they'll look to find somebody. And again, it may not be a big name guy, and it may not be a guy that makes his presence known until the 4th or 5th game of the season.
Yeah.
But they're going to add to that running back room, because there's nothing in it. Who knows? Maybe LaShawn McCoy is the odd man out. There's nothing that says LaShawn McCoy has done anything in these workouts to make you say, oh, he's definitely got to be on this team.
Well, everything you've heard from McCoy has been impressive, although he did have a fumble the other day. So, I mean, again, it's all about turnover situation. We were talking about turnovers last year. It goes with the running backs, too. If you're not taking care of the ball, you're putting your defense and you're putting your offense in bad situations. So they're going to look at everything. Johnny Dean, what else, buddy?
Well, I'm just saying that Al's whole argument just right then just reinforced what I think about it. If Fournette is signed, then that's the axe for Ronald Jones.
I think they could share carries. I think you still need 2 running backs.
I don't see it, dude. I don't see that.
Okay. Wow.
Two alpha males, and Ronald Jones, I don't know if he considers himself an alpha male, but he was drafted as an alpha male. And
he is not shown. He is not shown he's an alpha male. He is not.
And I agree with that. And maybe Arians sees that.
And he's had every opportunity for 3 years to win this job and to salt it away. And he hasn't done it. I'm sure he's a good kid. I'm sure he's got some great, he showed some great stuff at USC. But since he's been here, it's always been something. And I just think the Buccaneers are at the point, they have to be at the point where their patience is done. And he may be on this team for the, and may be the main running back to start the season, but he better turn things around, because he won't have that job for long if he doesn't come through.
Yeah. If they sign a Fournette, then Jones is on next year easily, because that'll be a 1 year prove it deal or a 2 year deal like Arians is good at handing out.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I don't see, like you talked about with signing a new contract, what's Fournette going to cost with a new contract?
That's the big thing. That's the thing. Where's the cost at? And Mike Greenberg, Jason Light have done a good job. And I didn't think they were going to sign LaShawn McCoy. Hell, I didn't even think they were going to sign a Rob Gronkowski to $10 million, but they've made it work. And for me, with this attitude of the team, if Ronald Jones feels like getting a Leonard Fournette is going to basically threaten his job, which it may. then you're basically losing the team aspect. And I feel like this whole team is dialed in. It's not about personal statistics, it's about, once again, going to the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. I'll leave it at that.
And it's about guys making, and it's about guys doing the right thing at the right time, and it's about guys not making mistakes, and it's about guys knowing their assignments. And at this point, the Buccaneers, especially Bruce Arians, just is not going to have any kind of patience with this. And quite honestly, I think the best thing that has been going for Ronald Jones is the fact that he was a second-round pick for Jason Light. And let's face it, the Buccaneers, for the most part, under Light, have not had the best success with second-round picks. And so they have done whatever they can to try to make sure that Ronald Jones gets that job. But Ronald Jones hasn't helped himself and hasn't done anything to show that he's really ready for this, even at this point.
Good point. All right, Johnny, what else?
That's pretty much it. See, that's the whole thing. There's point and counterpoint here, and that's why I don't think Fournette is going to be on this team. I just don't.
Okay.
It's going to cause too much financial. We don't know what that's going to cost. We don't know what it's going to do with Rojo. I do believe that there's going to be a running back in the future, like Al said, but I don't think it's going to be Fournette.
It may not be, but I just got to ask the fans. Let's just say you were the general manager. Would you go pick him up? I know what you think, but would you pick him up for a cheap deal?
I would honestly, I'd have to go over every aspect of the cost of picking him up, not just the finances, but what's it going to do? Where's it going to put the team? How long is it going to take him to learn the scheme? Because it's a completely different scheme than they play in Jacksonville. It's completely different.
Sure.
If Fournette fits better with Bears, honestly, that's more his type of team, that scheme there. But I'd have to go through every aspect of that and see how long I could hold on to Fournette to bring him up to speed and see if any of the other guys are going to come up to speed during the season. Like Vaughn. I honestly believe Vaughn's going to come up to speed during the season. He just hasn't had enough time with the ball.
Yeah, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. So that's the only thing I would think about. But again, they invested a third-round pick in him. They invested a seventh-round pick in Delay. So we'll see how it definitely works out. Thanks a lot, Johnny, for the call. Appreciate you, all right?
All right, later, guys.
All right, later. All right, so speaking of...
Yeah, Peter, here's something else.
Yeah.
And again, this is how something like this could happen. The Bucs very easily could say to Leonard Fournette, okay, I tell you what, it's a 1-year deal. It'll be $800 grand. Okay. And then you're going to have incentives from there to where you might make 1.2 or 1.5. Okay. They could certainly work that out to the point to where, the only thing goes against the cap is the $800 million. Now, is that something that you would look at and bring him in with that? Or would you rather take that money and look at a guy that maybe fits your scheme a little more and doesn't provide the stuff off the field that Leonard Fournette has brought? And I just think that, again, they're going to give Ronald Jones a little more leash here. Not as much as they have before, but I could see them adding someone. And if Ronald Jones doesn't get his act together by week 3, week 4, you're going to see this young running back from wherever he is now. You can find running backs anywhere. You just can. And it's not it's not like trying to find offensive linemen. So you can find running backs out there because every year there's some running back that comes out of nowhere that's a late round pick or an undrafted free agent or someone that's picked up off, after cuts that really has a big year. And so I think those guys are out there, and I think the Bucs would certainly have their ideas on what they'd like to do. And I think it could be that situation more than Leonard Fournette.
All right, good point. Now, other contract news, according to Ian Rappaport on Friday, we missed this. There has been recent negotiations with a Levante David. Of course, David coming down to his final year of his deal. He's making $10.75. If you had the opportunity to re-sign somebody besides a David in 2021, would it be Levante David, a Chris Godwin, a Shaq Barrett, or Rob Gronkowski? You only get two.
Well, it's impossible to say right now because we just don't know what the situation is going to be. But obviously, when you just go off history, Levante David is someone that you really need, and I think Chris Godwin is a guy that you need to get locked up. But what does that mean for Gronk? What does that mean for who was the other guy you mentioned? Oh, Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of ifs, and so these are problems, but they're good problems to have because it wasn't that long ago when the Bucs wouldn't have 3 or 4 guys that you could look ahead to next year and say, we got to get these guys locked up. And so it's a good problem that they have that. And we're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, again, this is the NFL, and you're one blown ankle away from a position that is a position of strength to where you're bringing guys off the street to come in and play.
Okay, I would ask that to the fans too, because we started this on Friday night, got a lot of response out of it. If you have the opportunity to re-sign a player, you only get 2. Is it a Levante David? Is it going to be a Rob Gronkowski? Is it going to be a Shaq Barrett, a Chris Godwin, or an Ndamukong Suh? 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. I wouldn't sign a Levante David, and I'll tell you why, Al, because I know that he's definitely going to get the pub this year, but you drafted a guy in Devin White. Most likely he's going to be the center of your defense. I would let Levante David go. I would go with Devin White, and I would sign a Shaq Barrett because you can barely find pass rushers. It's difficult because then you lose possibly Chris Godwin. So I would go with Shaq Barrett and I would go with Chris Godwin. Those are my players that I would select out of that.
Well, I think there are going to be other situations that'll come up. I'm not sure next year. Do you have Ndamukong Suh on this football team?
I don't think you do.
I don't. I don't think there's anything that says that that's a lock. Even though I think he's a key guy, and there could be some other areas where the Bucs could make some very hard decisions. I personally think, and I understand your reasoning with Levante David, except that to me, Levante David may be that heart and soul of this defense, and may be that one piece of glue that kind of holds everybody together, and has been since the minute he stepped on the field here. So I think they're very mindful of that, and they have to walk that very tight line between signing him because of what he's done in the past, but not what he can do for you in the future. And that's going to be a very tough decision. But I think if the Buccaneers do not sign a Levante David, that a lot of people on that defense and a lot of people on this team saying, hold on here, do they take care of theirs? Levante David is clearly one of the best linebackers in Buccaneer history, one of the best defensive players in Buccaneer history.
Great.
Now, it doesn't mean you sign him for on down the road if he's lost a step. So this year you got to look at it and see, okay, what is Levante David still able to do? And a year ago, he was lights out. So what's that mean this year? But I think you can do that. And the Bucs showed this year that they can find ways. I didn't think they were going to be able to bring everybody back on this defense, with the exception of the guy they got from Cleveland, And
by the way,
the
guy they got from Cleveland, he's not doing too well with Las Vegas right now. That would be Carl Nassib. In fact,
Carl Nassib, yeah.
He's not fitting that system. And as I've always said here, I get it. Guys go for the big money deals. But as I told Johnny Dean, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Just maybe the system was better here than it was for the Raiders. Not saying it's a bad thing. He took more money. I get it. He got the opportunity to have more money. The Bucs decided to move on, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's why free agency is such an unknown.
Well, I'm not sure the Buccaneers made that big an effort to get him because they have young players. I mean, you've got Anthony and Nelson that they're hoping will develop into that role.
Right.
And so they've got some other guys. So, I mean, let's hope that the Buccaneers have really tough decisions going into next year. Let's hope that that's a problem, because I'm pretty sure that they'll find a way to make certain things happen.
All right, let's go out to the web head there. Read these comments, Mr. Alkek. We should be more interested in signing an Earl Thomas. We kind of talked about that. I don't see that necessarily happening. I think he's a big-time locker room problem. Not another running back, says Frank. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Appreciate you, Earl. Would be a great fit for us. David says, isn't Leonard Fournette injury-prone? To a certain degree, he is. Jags are trying to avoid Fournette's $4 million. Christopher Cole tied at 2 with 2 minutes to go. Looks like Boston tied the game up with a power play goal. Richard says, hope not. 2-2 Bolts going into overtime. So we will keep on updating that game as the Bolts try to close out that series. Agree, Johnny. We don't need no damn Earl Thomas as best virtual edits video. Elroy says no. The deck bar and grill. I think so they sold. Yeah, for cheap deal. Frank says yes for cheap deal. Johnny says Austin Eckler and James Conner, both walk-ons. Absolutely. Johnny Dean says
I think James Conner was a 3rd-round pick, I believe.
Yeah,
so I believe he was the draft pick for Pittsburgh.
May have to check that. I think I don't know, but he was definitely a big-time story who went through cancer, survived cancer
in college.
Yes, yeah. Johnny Dean says Barrett. Johnny Dean again says, sorry, Godwin, I love the guy, but it's far easier to draft a great wide receiver than find a pass rusher. LVD and Barrett signed. You agree with that? You can find a wide receiver, even though Chris Godwin may be top 3, top 5 wide receiver in the league?
I believe you find a way to keep Chris Godwin.
Okay.
And, as long as he's not making demands that are just absolutely silly. But if he does, it's because he's had just an incredible year. And so, James Conner was a 3rd-round pick out of Pittsburgh.
3rd-round pick. Okay. All right. And it's worked out very
well.
But
still, Johnny's point is very good in that every year there are guys that are undrafted that are low-round draft pick or, 6th, 7th round, 5th round draft picks, running backs that become key contributors. So those guys are out there. And a lot of times it's more system. All you have to do is, it's Johnny Dean's, Steelers is look at Rocky Blyer. Rocky Blyer ran for 1,000 yards with that offensive line in Pittsburgh. So it just goes to show you it's not so much about the running back. It's more about the offensive line.
All right, let's see here. Brody says, go get Leonard Fournette. There you go. There's some difference of opinion. I'm surprised because there's a lot of fans out there don't want it. They're happy with the running back situation. And I feel like, look, you have to explore every possibility if it makes you better. Of course, it always comes down to character issues off the field. And then on top of it, how much money is it going to cost you? Is he going to be committed? How many years? If it's just a 2-year window. Bucs playoffs, here we come, Caden says. And sorry, yes, he was a 3rd-round pick, a comp 3rd-round pick. My bad. So that being a good question. We're waiting for Leo Haggerty, so we'll keep you on just a little bit longer here. But Al Keck, what do you got coming up on the Al Keck Show exclusively here on Bucs Report starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, we will have Jim Leavitt, the former USF coach that has some very interesting things to say about his coaching career, his time at USF, and it's just a fun interview. It really is. And I'm able to, of course, I've known Jim for a lot of years. And I warned him, I said, I'm going to ask you things I've always wanted to ask you. And he says, bring it on. And so, we talk about a lot of stuff. And so I think it'll be, really a good interview. And there's also someone that we have tomorrow night that I think is going to be interesting. There's a young lady that from St. Petersburg that is a nurse that is in the Air Force Reserves, that has 4 kids and is as busy as you can ever imagine. But she's a bodybuilder, and she's competing in the North American Championships next week. And the cool, actually, no, it's this week. It's this week. And the cool part about it is if she wins her class, she then becomes a professional. So we'll talk. It's just a different type of interview. She's a fascinating lady. And again, to me, she's a hero with everything she does. To be able to be, work full time as a nurse, be in the Air Force Reserves and be a mother of 4 and still get your body in shape to where you're to where you can compete at an international level. You've got to be something special. So she is. So we'll talk about that. Of course, I've got Kyle Keck talking about the NFL, and it'll be a great show. It'll be a great show with Jim Levitt.
It always is. It's the Outback Show, 40-year Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28. Let me ask you this, and then we'll get you out of here. What are your thoughts on Yannick Ngakoue going to the Vikings? Now they pair him up with Danielle Hunter. Of course, the Vikings only gave up a 2nd and a 5th-round pick. Once again, the Jaguars tanking for Lawrence. I mean, how bad could this team be with all the talent they got rid of? And Al was only a couple years ago when they were in the AFC Championship game. Now, ever since then, they went 11-21.
Yeah, but again, they won in a way to where the game has changed even since then. And I think they show that, you can't really win the game like that now because it's changed so much. And once you fall behind these days, it's tough to run the football and try to play a catch-up type of game.
Yeah.
So, I'm just I'm a little surprised that you get a talent like that Minnesota gets a talent like that for a couple of draft picks. I mean, and not high draft picks. We're not talking a number 1. You're talking, was it a 2nd and a 5th?
Yeah, 2nd and a 5th. That is a conditional where it could turn into a 3rd-round pick. The terms haven't been, they haven't been released yet, but that could be a conditional pick where it turns into a 3rd-round pick eventually. So
well, again, to me, he's a guy that could be a difference maker on your defensive line, and that's what you spend your draft picks on.
Yeah.
So to give up a 2nd and a 5th to get a guy like that, that's a proven commodity. To me, you've got to really look and see, does this guy fit your scheme? If he does, then it's something you really have to look at because he's not at the point to where he's making huge money yet. So I know he wants to make more, but can that be something that can be worked out? But to me, you're trying to draft a guy like that. And so if that's the case and you can get him for a 2nd and a 5th, I'm surprised more people didn't jump on that.
Are you surprised by Scotty Miller and his basically winning the job at the 3rd wide receiver spot? Because we talked about Tyler Johnson. Of course, Johnson got hurt in camp, has never been the same. Of course, it goes back to the missed rep opportunities. It certainly seems like now the Bucs have found their 3rd wide receiver and is Scotty Miller. Are you surprised by Miller's emergence?
Well, he built a relationship with Brady in those workouts at Berkeley Prep. So he was very smart at that. And let's pull the reins back a little bit. You still have 2 weeks to go before, the season opening game at New Orleans. All it takes is a tweaked ankle to completely change that offense. So now on, this first week in September, Scotty Miller appears to have that 3rd wide receiver spot wrapped up, but there's a whole lot of time before opening day. And then once opening day is played, it can be an injury, it could be some poor performance. We just don't know. Remember how horrible Rashad Perriman looked a year ago for the first part of the season. And he got to the point to where he had to play. The Bucs didn't have anyone else for those last 2 games of the season. And he stepped up and he played, pretty well to the point to where he got another contract. And he wasn't going to get that contract here. So anything can happen. It's still extremely early. I think Scotty Miller has certainly made the most of his opportunity, and rightfully so. He's had a great opportunity, and he appears to be that perfect kind of receiver that Tom Brady likes, because you look at his size, you look at his ability. He is Julian Edelman type. He's Danny Amendola type. He just kind of fits into that look of that Patriots receiver. So we'll see if he can keep that going.
All right, good stuff. There you go, Mr. Al Keck, the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend. Tomorrow night here at 9 o'clock live on Bucs Report, you're going to have Jim Levitt. Thanks a lot for your time on the Evolution, all right?
All right. Thank you, Peter.
All right, see you tomorrow night. There you go, Mr. Al Keck along with us. Open phone lines. If you want Leonard Fournette, do you want him? Why? If you don't, why? 727-255-0391. 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Mr. Leo Haggerty here. Leo, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, and I got to congratulate you, my friend, because lo and behold, you have retired today. So congratulations, my friend. Well deserved.
Well, I appreciate that, Peter. And again, 45 years in coaching and education and teaching, and this was the right time to get out, because believe me, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's not a pretty sight. This was our first day of having kids back in the building, and it was a chaotic madhouse. So we'll see what happens, but I had to ride off into the sunset at 4 o'clock and say, guys, good luck. Stay safe.
All right, good stuff. So are you surprised that Leonard Fournette got waived today by the Jacksonville Jaguars? And do you feel like the Bucs should kick those tires?
No and no. And here's why, Peter. If you look at the circumstances surrounding what's going on in Jacksonville, you're seeing more players trying to get out of there than stay there. So I don't know what the situation is. But Leonard Fournette, it all depends on what Leonard Fournette you're getting. Now, again, he would be the big back that the Bucs truly deserve, because if you look at it, Dare's the biggest guy back there on a 3rd and short or a 4th and short. Now, you put Leonard Fournette back there, and it becomes a whole new dynamic as to what happens. But two things, Peter. I just don't think they got the money, and I just don't know what's coming out of Jacksonville as to whether he tried to get out or there's just no tread left on the tire.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that had a career high and not only catches last year with 76 and, 1,600 yards from scrimmage, to me, the Bucs are definitely interested. And the reason why is because we talked about months ago with Bruce Arians' comments of the missed reps by Keyshawn Vaughn. Have you heard anything about Vaughn or Calais at all? Or have they really been disappointing, as I think they are, because you haven't heard anything?
Well, you know what, Peter? Vaughn, you got to just let it play out, because the guy comes into camp. He's got COVID. He's missing, 2 weeks right there. He's missed all the OTAs. He's missed all the rookie camp. So, again, to say he's behind the 8 ball is an understatement. I think they need to look at him strictly as a return guy until he has time to, figure out what's going on offense. And, Peter, I just think it's going to be, Ronald Jones and Sean McCoy. I think there's your two guys, and go from there.
If you were the general manager of the Bucs, would you go pick up Fournette because of what you just said?
I would look at it, but I just don't know if they got the cap room. Again, Peter, if you're all in, and I think the Bucs have pushed their chips to the table.
Yes.
Fournette is maybe that missing piece to the puzzle. May give you that, big back on short yardage situations where you could get, and again, the guy caught 76 passes, so he's not chopped liver back there trying to catch the football either. So I think you look at what's going on. You sit down with Bruce Arians and say, hey, Bruce, if you want him, we'll take a look at him. But I think this is going to be the head coach's call.
Yeah, and what I always look at here, we're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web live on Bucs Report and the Landry Football Network. He didn't rule it out. He could have come out and said, you know what? He's not a fit like Antonio Brown. I don't think he fits the locker room. We've got too many people. And yet, what did he say, Leo? He said, we'll wait and see. He's been a good player. We have to see where he fits. There was talk that they had trade conversations. And, of course, there was no team willing to give Jacksonville that compensation. Could it be that teams already knew that they were basically ready to cut Fournette, and that's why they didn't give anything up?
Peter, I think it was more the other way around, that they looked at what was going on and said, okay, let's see what we can get for him. And then when they found out what they couldn't get for him, and again, Peter, understand this: when a player goes up on the trading block, they're hurt. You know, they're you know, why don't you want me? What's the problem here? Mm-hmm. And again, we're seeing players trying to get out of Jacksonville, people taking less money to leave. So I don't know what we're talking about here in terms of the Jacksonville franchise, but it can't be good if your number one draft pick wants to get out. Now, if the problem is he just can't play anymore, then you got to deal with it.
Yeah, and even Doug Marrone says he doesn't give us the best chance to win. In fact, he wants to fill the team that gives him the best chance to win. I look at the running back situation. I think you got to make it work. I get it. He didn't necessarily like a Gardner Minshew. He wanted a Cam Newton. He was very vocal about that. The franchise didn't necessarily look too kindly on those words, and then he came out later and kind of backstepped himself. But, you know, the damage is done at that point, and I feel like nobody wants to be in Jacksonville. Ever since they made the AFC Championship game, they've been 11-21. Let's talk about this Bucs kicking situation. I feel like it's a broken record, like I'm listening to a bad mumble rap song on the radio, and it's going over and over again in my head. We keep on hearing the word consistency, and yet Elliott Fry and Matt Gay are not putting it together. And now the Bucs are bringing in a Ryan Suckup and a Cody Parkey, who has his own missed field goal troubles in his history. What do you make of this situation, Leo?
They're going to find a guy who's going to make 9 out of 10. And again, they'll bring in guys until they can find that. And again, Peter, we're not talking about 45-yard plus field goals. We're talking about the 35, 20 to 40-yard field goals right in there. You can't miss those. If you're going to miss it, it's got to be 1 out of 20. These have got to be automatic. It's like an extra point in terms of, okay, you got to be 19 out of 20. You got to be 95%. That's just simple math. It's got to happen, because this team, if you look down what's going to happen, 3 missed field goals could be the difference between 11-5 and 8-8. And the Bucs can't afford that.
Yeah, they definitely can't afford that. We're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. We got James Coleman of 1010XL Radio from Jacksonville coming on, giving us the lowdown about the Fournette and the Jaguar situation here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mr. Dr. Doom, have you changed your mindset a little bit? I mean, don't tell me you're like Diana Rossini, where you don't think the Bucs are going to make the playoffs this year.
As long as 12 is standing, they're going to playoffs, Peter. Again, it's something that, let's be honest, that needs to happen. And again, we saw he got sacked a couple times in the scrimmage. And that, I'll tell you, Cam Jordan starting out for Tristan Wirfs the first game, that's got to concern you. You've got to have a back over there to help. You got to have a tight end to chip. That's the thing. And I don't see where anybody, the Bucs don't make the playoffs. I'll tell you what, Peter, I think it's going to be tough for anybody to win 10 games this year. It's just going to be because of the situation. And how about the Giants coming out and saying, we're thinking about maybe boycotting the first game? I'll tell you what, when Saquon Barkley said that, I can guarantee he got a call from Roger Goodell and Demarius Smith and say, son, don't even think about that, because this isn't the NBA. You do that, we will fine your team for whatever it costs us to lose the cast rights. And you know what? That's going to be 7 figures or 8 figures. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, just let's get that one out right away. That's not going to happen. But I'll tell you what, Peter, I'm looking at the Bucs somewhere between 9-7, 11-5, somewhere in there.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't see any players boycotting. I think that's talk right now. I get it. It's emotion. So, players can be emotional if they want to. I mean, they're basically not only hurting themselves, but they're hurting their team. And I just feel like that's not going to happen. Of course, we're only 10 days away. It hasn't necessarily all been positive news. I'll get you out of here on this because we got James Coleman in. If you want to hang out in the lobby, I'll get you back on afterwards. But Fred Warner looks like he has gone on the COVID list. Of course, it's 10 days until the regular season. So, many question marks here about, what's his impact. Of course, being one of the young defensive players for the San Francisco 49ers. They've already sustained injuries. That's the real risk at this point, or the real concern is that you're only 10 days out from starting the season. And if you get on that COVID list, you have to test negative. And if you don't, there's going to be some type of delay where you possibly can miss one game.
Peter, it's going to happen to every team sometime during the season. You just hope it's not the week before the playoffs. It just stands to reason that if these people are going back into the population, and again, the Bucs and the Saints and probably other teams have had hotels where they have sequestered these players. And again, you have got to, there's not going to be a metamorphosis, SAT word.
Oh, very nice.
In terms of this is going to go away. It's going to sit. The biggest problem is it's going to mutate into COVID-20. Now you really got a problem. And Peter, look at Hillsborough High School. They had to cancel a game with Gaither Friday night because they had a player that tested positive, and now they got 10 others guys that got to go into quarantine. It's a shame, but again, you got a squad of somewhere that's going to be in the neighborhood of 60 or 70 players that's going to go home. They're going to leave. They're going to go back. And the wife's going to call and say, hey, pick up a quart of milk and a loaf of bread on the way home. They're going to go in to Publix or they're going to go into Winn-Dixie. And all of a sudden, boom, here it comes. And that's what's going to be the problem. It's right now they're able to control it, but it's just look at what's happened in Major League Baseball. Why has the NBA and why has the NHL been successful? They're not traveling. Major League Baseball, they're traveling, and that's the problem. They're traveling. NFL is going to travel. They're going to travel 8 times a year. They're not going to travel, 15, 16 like baseball, but they're still going to travel. They're going to get on a plane, no telling what's happening when they get to that city. It's just going to be that kind of thing. So, Peter, it's a wait and see. And again, you hate to say this, but seasons could depend on who gets it and who doesn't. And I'll tell you what, I think Bruce Arians has the right idea. You may want to get your second team quarterback and put him in a hotel by himself just so you have somebody. It's crazy.
All right, good stuff, Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. You want to hang out in the lobby or you want to end it for the night? Because I can get you back in the lobby there. We can wait and get you back on here on the Sports Web.
Hey, at my age, I'm just happy to make it to 10:30, Peter. And, we've been celebrating a little bit today, so let's wait till next Monday, yeah.
All right, buddy. Celebrate Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member and now retired. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution, all right?
Not a problem, Peter. You take care. Stay safe.
That's absolutely you too, sir. There you go. Mr. Leo Haggerty on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go out. And again, open phone line. I mean, if you want to talk about Leonard Fournette, should he be a Buck? If you're the general manager of the Bucs, would you go after him? Would you pursue him? Why or why not? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. And what 5 players would you re-sign? Here's your list. Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, and Levante David. Who would you sign out of those 5 players? 2 of them. You only get 2. 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Mr. James Coleman of 1010 XL in Jacksonville, 92.5. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't want to be disrespectful to your show, but like after my radio show, I smoke my cigar. Is that okay? Like I don't want to like give you secondhand smoke through the interwebs.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think you're okay here. It's kind of a relaxed environment here on the Sports Web. So smoke away, my friend. I thought my buddy there, Leo Haggerty, was going to smoke a cigar because he just retired today. So he didn't want to be on here. He was partying a little bit. That's okay. You can do that. Feel free, relax. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. It has not been a relaxing situation in Jacksonville. Lots of turnover. What do you make of this? Leonard Fournette today waived. Are you surprised by this? And then, of course, yesterday, Yannick, Ngakwe traded to the Minnesota Vikings for only a second and a fifth-round pick. What do you make of these situations?
Well, the unique situation, we knew it was going to happen. Like that was something where they just botched that. That relationship is bruised, and there was no repair coming for it. So, did I believe it was going to end in the way it did? No, but we knew there was going to be some finality sooner or later when it came to that. The Leonard Fournette situation kind of caught everybody off guard. But when you really sit back and you think about the offense and the way things are planned with Jay Gruden, it kind of makes sense, but it also doesn't. Like what you have is when you're a good offensive mind, you take the pieces that you have and you formulate those pieces to what you want to do. And Leonard Fournette is a good running back. He's a downhill type running back. He's a guy that needs to get 20 carries type running back. But yet and still, he's a really, really good guy that you want to have, especially when you want to have consistency for your quarterback. A guy who 2 out of his 3 seasons has had over 1,000 yards rushing. His last season having 1,600 all-purpose, doing it on the ground and in the air. So those are things that you kind of want. But the situation definitely does not breed well for good press in the fan base, because when you look at bigger than just these 2 players, you look at they've had about 8 guys that have been drafted in the last 5 years who at one point were top NFL top 100 players who have not re-signed. And you've got only 2 pieces that were drafted high, 3 pieces in Cam Robinson, Miles Jack, and Taven Bryan, which you're probably not going to re-sign Cam Robinson when it's time to do it. And Miles Jack, you probably overpay when you got him, and Taven Bryan's just awful. So, like, you just don't really have very good pieces outside of – and you got a wide receiver, DJ Chark, who's up and coming, that you're going to have to re-sign. And now you're going to probably end up having to overpay those guys to keep them happy and to try to change the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, and we're on with Mr. James Coleman, former Florida State Seminole. What year were you at Florida State, by the way?
2002 to 2005.
There you go. 2002 to 2005, of course, radio show in Jacksonville, 1010 XL, and of course, 92.5, giving us the Jacksonville Jaguar lowdown here on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. By the way, our show is brought to you by mycannabiscard.com. That's medical marijuana. So you're okay with that cigar. Just saying, the conversation for
I
me,
need that information because I have my medical card. Like that's good stuff.
Well, there you go. We'll get that information out to you after the show there, my friend. Let's talk about Doug Marrone and his comments. I mean, what do you make of this? At the end of the day, I've got to be able to fill the team that gives us the best chance to win. And I look at the running backs here. Chris Thompson, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. Raquel Armisen.
Raquel Armstead.
Okay, and Divine Ozabingo. Who are these guys?
Exactly. You just said that. You summed it up.
And over a Fournette.
Right. There's a phrase for that. They're a bunch of Jags. Just a guy.
Just a guy.
Chris Thompson is good. Former Noel himself. Has found a niche in the league as a good third down back. Tough as nails. He's fought through a lot of injuries, crazy injuries like that. A lot of people wouldn't be able to play even at the level in which he's done, but he's not a feature back. That's the thing. Not just because of the injuries or a lack of talent. He's been in the league since 2012. So like this is like his 7th season. It's tough if you haven't been a feature back at this point. Like it's just just doesn't look good for you. Raquel Armstead is is out of Temple. I believe he was a 3rd, 4th round pick. He's got a downhill running style. Not really great. Azigba kind of has some things. And there's another guy, I think James Robinson is his name.
Mhm.
But I believe they're going to do running back by committee. So Raquel might get, let's say, 10 carries. Chris Thompson might get like 7. The other guys might get some other touches. So it's not going to be a true feature back situation.
In your opinion, should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pursue a Fournette because of?
Hell yes. I actually just brought that up. Like I said, because it doesn't make sense. Like it's a lot. I know coach speak when I hear it. I haven't been coached. And coach speak is, it's not lying. I guess it's white lie. Embellishment. I guess that's how it is. It's stuff that can make you feel good, but when you really get to the root of it, it's kind of BS. And there's 3, really 4 now that somebody kind of brought it up to me. 4 fits. And they're all teams that probably could win right away.
Mhm.
New England would be a good fit when you think about two reasons why. When you think about what Belichick's had when he won with Garrett Blunt,
Correct.
downhill back, physical. But bigger
Or-
than that, when you think about Cam Newton's MVP year in Carolina, I think it was James Stewart he had where he went over 1,000, didn't have many touchdowns because Cam was able to read on the goal line. It was a very difficult thing for the defense to do. You're going to want to stop the running back with most of your effort, and you're going to leave the quarterback kind of alone. So that's what Cam Newton, when you have Cam Newton, that gives you a good wrinkle. Philadelphia, when they won, they had, again, LeGarrette Blount, AJ Ajayi. That's a good fit. Kansas City just lost one of their featured backs. They got a rookie, but you do a 1-2 tandem with that. And then I put Tampa Bay. I was joking. I was like, you not even a 7th round pick, not even a 6th round pick. That's a throwaway pick. And I was like, we call him Uncle Bruce up here because he looks like he could be one of my great uncles. And I was like, Uncle Bruce would have threw away a 7th round pick for Leonard Fournette. He's worth that.
Well, what if people or teams knew that basically Jacksonville was going to eventually get rid of him? Why would you give up a pick when you can basically get him for nothing? And my thing is, do you feel like Leonard would take a smaller deal in order to play for a team that, by all accounts, and I get killed on this on my show, is Super Bowl or bust? They're looking to win a Super Bowl this year. You've got Tom Brady. You've got Rob Gronkowski. You've got a 2-year window, maybe a 1-year window. Do you feel like Leonard would take a smaller deal in order to play with a Tom Brady and a Rob Gronkowski?
See, the thing is, you don't have to worry about the deal. It's guaranteed money. He's in his first year. He's in his rookie deal. Jack's owing $4 million no matter what. So whatever you offer him gets offset. So he may take vet minimum because he's going to get $4 million no matter what. You're not going to pay him over $4 million, but you put him on a 1 year or a 1 year with an option type deal to be able to prove himself. And I believe Leonard probably has 3 to 4 years of feature back ability left in him. I mean, he's a very physical runner, but he's in year 4. No, year 5. No, year 4. He's in year 4 of his contract.
Yeah.
So he's that's 4 years. From 4 years is an eternity. Hell, 3 years ago, the Jaguars were a play away from making it to the Super Bowl.
Do you think that the Bucs would stay away from him because he's like an Antonio Brown? Maybe not as extreme, but he can be detrimental to a locker room. Give me some cons because I know the pros. I'm with you on this. I posed the question to the fan base tonight, and they're happy with Ronald Jones. Even some people say, well, you may be taking carries away from Ronald Jones. I get that, but you can't live on one running back in this league. Right. We know that. Not everybody's a Derrick Henry. And even a Derrick Henry is going to take some hits, so you got to have a backup running back. So what's the cons for getting a Fournette?
Well, the cons is that he's not a patient runner. I call him a blind dog in a meat house. But the crazy, he's either going to, if the hole is there and he gets there, it could be a big time run. If it's not there, he's going to be running over your lineman and trying to create holes, which can get frustrating as well. He is. They try to paint him as a bad guy, but let me tell you about Leonard Fournette, what he did his first year here. I just brought this up on the radio show tonight.
Please.
This guy took every one of his medals that he had won from Pop Warner all the way through outside of I think some of his college trophies, but he melted them all down, and he had them used to help make weights for Raines High School here in Jacksonville, inner city school. Won a couple state championships since then, but they didn't have a good weight room. So that was his first thing that he did. He's bought movie tickets for kids that were displaced during the hurricane when it hit us here hard. Back in his hometown of New Orleans and here in Jacksonville. He's done all kinds of stuff. Like, those aren't bad guys. Now, what I will say is he's not a guy that's a very probably talk. He likes what he likes, and he's not the most talkative person in the world to people that he doesn't know. And that doesn't make you a bad locker room guy. This is the pros. Most of us go to work every day and with people that we don't necessarily like, but they do their job very well. And that's all you ask them to do as a professional. And I think Leonard Fournette has that. Now, there are things that he did that were immature, but I really think if you comb every professional, we all, as a guy who was an athlete, we all know guys who fell asleep in meetings. We all know guys who, never seem to make it to a meeting on time. But they made plays. So the NFL is what have you done for me lately? And can this guy come in and be added and make us 1 to 2 more plays a game, which could be the difference when you're going up against New Orleans, who at this juncture is a better overall team than Tampa Bay. It's in Atlanta, who only God knows what they're going to be. You are a much better team than Carolina, but can he really make sure you're that much better than Atlanta and make sure that you're better than New Orleans? Because I'll tell you this, Alvin Kamara's holding out. What you don't want him is in New Orleans.
Exactly. And that's exactly the thing I could see if, let's say, Kamara. And look, the Saints, every year we're on with James Coleman of 1010 XL, 92.5 FM, Jacksonville, here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. The Saints supposedly are cap strapped. So let's say they don't necessarily give Kamara what he wants, and what he wants is a Christian McCaffrey deal. I'm not sure if they have that money right now, but could they get a Fournette for, maybe a $2 to $3 million deal because he's already getting $4 million to play for the Saints, and you sell him on the fact of not only playing where he played college football at, but also playing with the Drew Brees? I think you could do that, and I'm not sure. Look, the Bucs have a great run defense at the end of the day, number one, but still, that's not something you necessarily want to face on that Sunday. You just don't.
Well, you also sell them on something similar to what you sold Jameis with. You come here, you got a bad rap, no matter what. I can tell you all the good things about Leonard Fournette, but there are bad things. And hey, it is what it is. You are what your perception is.
Right.
But you come here, you let us clean up the perception. You get used to winning. You get in a winning franchise. If it works out here, it works out here. If nothing else, you hit free agency, and the last thing people remember you is probably on a playoff team, and that's something that's easily sold. That's what sold Jan with Minnesota, and that's why Jalen wanted to go to the Rams. That's why Calais Campbell and other guys wanted to go to Baltimore. It's not a hard sell to want to play with Drew Brees.
Yeah, it's not a hard sell to play with Tom Brady either. I keep on telling
not at all.
You got a golden ticket, you might as well use it, and somebody will take less money if they feel like this team is a Super Bowl contender. I look at the Chicago Bears. I definitely think that could be a possibility because of Montgomery. He's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a groin injury. Those things could be lingering. They really don't have a running back. You're trying to take pressure off of that quarterback, no matter who. You don't know who it is yet. Is it a Trubisky? Is it a Nick Foles? Let's talk about Jameis Winston because we're continue to talk about him and hear that he looked good in camp. Do you feel like he'll be the eventual starter of the Saints, or are you buying the Taysom Hill stuff?
Taysom Hill is an elite athlete. I don't believe that he's a good quarterback though. I believe you can put packages in for him, but I think if you try to have him drop back and throw the ball 30 to 40 times, you're going to hamstring what he's able to do. I think Jameis Winston, I understand what Tampa Bay did. You get that opportunity. Even Jameis would tell you, dude, be your Tom Brady. Take Tom Brady. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. And if he still has something left in you, it's going to work. But I believe that Jameis with a good offensive line and and a running game and wide receivers, shoot, I think Jameis could play 10 years in the NFL. His production has not been his thing. It's that he's been too boom or bust, and that comes with a guy who feels like it's all on him to win. And he did that in college. In 2013, when he was surrounded by talent, he was able to just facilitate talent and just get the ball where it needed to go. In 2014, when a lot of that talent left and he felt like he needed to do it on his own, that's when he saw the increase in interceptions and the lack of and they won obviously, but you saw him put the team in bad positions. And it's not that and the craziest thing, the damnedest thing is Jameis can by himself make an NFL TV ratings of a game go high because the win, whoever wins the game, it's in his hands. Whether it's your team or the other team, somebody's gonna win the game because of what Jameis has done.
Let's talk about Tom Brady. Because there's pundits that say he's lost the arm strength, he can't throw deep anymore, and there's others that say he could have an MVP type of year. Where do you lie on Tom Brady this year?
Tom Brady's biggest attribute is his mind and his anticipation and his ability to get rid of the ball, and that's really what the NFL game is about. His arm strength was notably lacking last season, but he's so smart and understands football so much that his ability to get rid of the ball in the quick game and his decision making is what helps. So, like, if you've got wide receivers who are built for that, and you got his comfort level, which is a grunt, then now you've got a situation where Tom Brady could extend his career. But the NFL is one of those things where we've actually, and this is good for Tampa Bay fans, but also bad. We saw the end of the career with Peyton Manning. Where Peyton Manning's intellect was still there, his arm strength just wasn't there. But he was able to put the ball in places enough to where he can win you games. Now, the problem is when you meet the right team, like it can look bad. Like it's like all of our favorite heavyweight boxers. Like when a boxer has taken one round too many, it looks really, really bad because you can see what they want to do, but their body has betrayed them. And that's the thing that happens with all athletes. But to be at the NFL and to be as great as he is, you got to be arrogant enough to believe you can do it. And that arrogance, unfortunately, always gets met with a mighty end. And what a Buck fan all they can hope is that mighty end is more John Elway than even what Peyton Manning experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Manning's first year, he put up big-time numbers, but you're exactly right. It was the defense that won him the Super Bowl because his arm strength absolutely deteriorated. And we're on with James Coleman of 1010XL Jacksonville, 92.5 on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. With all that being said, you talked about an end. Is it the end for Doug Marrone? Is he the dead man walking? Is it going to be Jay Gruden's going to take over? And are they really tanking for Trevor Lawrence, or do they believe in the Gardner Minshew?
Oh, God, no. Jay Gruden's not going to. I hope Jay Gruden's not the head coach. And I don't think that Jay Gruden will ever be a head coach after what happens with the Washington probe. This man is out here sending text messages threatening tight ends over his secretary, over messing with his secretary. Like this guy, these guys are wilding out. Like they needed a reality TV show, the real football players of Washington D.C., like the Real Housewives or something like that. But,
right.
But Jay, Gardner has just been put in a no-win situation, and I just watched the scrimmage on Saturday, and Gardner had flashes, but he's a second-year player. Like he needs. It was the reason why he was drafted where he was drafted. Like he's not bad. He just needs some development. And how do you develop somebody? You help them. You put talent around them. And they've done everything but that. The offensive line is atrocious. And you just how you can make an offense better and an overall team better is by playing good defense and having a run game. And what did they do? They gutted their defense and they got rid of the run game. So like they're just making it harder. But Jay Gruden can put together route combinations, but I don't think no matter what happens this year, I think this staff is going to be here for 2021 season. Wow. And I do believe that they're going to give it weeks one, the first quarter of the season before they really, really try to do whatever it needs to do. But they've amassed draft picks that even if they went to, let's say they finish, they go, which they won't, but let's say they go 7-9, and that's like one of the worst things you can do.
Right.
Because your average is all get out, and that puts you in a bad draft position. They can package picks together to put themselves in the top 3 to be able to get Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields. But I'm of the ilk that as a dad, my sons are young, but like if I like my sons were good enough, right? Like they were this old, and my son was Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. As a good father, I'd be like, hell no. Like, no, like, I'm not playing for those. I'm not playing for that organization. Like, there's no way. It is not because I would be pissed or not like the opportunity to play in the NFL. I've just seen an inept organization over the last decade. We've averaged 5 wins a game, and that's including a 2017 playoff run. Our average draft position is 4.5. Like, that's not. And we could say let's say Leonard was a cancer. Say Jalen Ramsey was a bad person. Say Yannick Ngakoue just was grumpy. He was miserable. Let's say Dante Fowler was a bad person. Let's say Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, Blake Bortles, who you paid too much. When it gets to that many people, man, it can't be everybody, right? At a certain point, you got to look in the mirror and be like, what are we doing drafting these guys? Or what are we doing to make these guys into who they are? And I think that's really the piece right there. It's some dysfunction in the organization. And until they can get that dysfunction, it's 2 ways to get rid of it. You either got to win yourself out of it, because I've never seen – because they talk a lot about culture, right?
Right.
Have you ever heard a winning locker room have a bad culture? And have you ever heard a losing locker room have a good culture? Like,
no.
It's a buzzword. So like winning cures culture. Winning is how you create culture. So my thing is that they either got to win themselves out of it, which I don't think they have the tools to, or they're going to have to like make some wholesale changes. And that starts with the GM and the head coach.
Yeah, to me, I just think you clean house. I don't depend on those parties because of what you just talked about with their draft history. You barely have any first or second round picks, and that's the reason why most likely the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be the worst team in the NFL. James Coleman, thanks a lot for joining me here on The Evolution. Go ahead and promote yourself, your radio show.
All right, it's the Sports Den on 1010XL, 92.5 FM in Jacksonville. You can go to @SportsDen_live on Twitter, Instagram. The Sports Den Live on YouTube. You can catch the shows live on Periscope, YouTube, and on Facebook Live. If you don't want to go to SoundCloud or listen to us live on the show, we cover basically everything NFL and college related with some focus on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the big 3 in the state of Florida when it comes to college football. If you're looking for great intel and information on basketball, baseball, and hockey, it's the worst show you can listen to. But if you want to know about football, it's something that we do, and we specialize in the things that we do in our personal lives outside of radio, as well as what we do with radio. It's fun. It's laid back. It's like hanging out with like, again, if I could smoke in the studio, but that's frowned upon, I would. But it's what we do. So that I actually put the wrong Twitter handle because that guy at Big Game James 36 is dead on Twitter. Don't follow him. He's a bad person. At Big Game James _36 is my Twitter handle. And that's where you can get FSU, Jaguar news, my random news about my kids, and my son's I-9 flag football team, or whatever's going on in the day. So it's we try to be fun, we try to be laid back, we try to give sports in a manner that's easily consumable, fun.
Absolutely. And like I said, smoke them if you got them here on The Evolution. Definitely don't be a stranger. And real quick, you mentioned boxing. Roy Jones Jr. or Mike Tyson? Are you watching, and who's going to win? It's Tyson, right?
Of course I'm watching. I'll watch Tyson fight a shark. Like, I'll watch Mike Tyson fight a bear. Like, I've met Mike. And Mike is a curious human being because he's very inviting, but he's also terrifying to be around. You don't really know. Like, he's like a gorgeous pit bull with no leash, and you don't know who the owner is. It's like you want to see it, but at the same time, does this thing bite, and will it bite me? So, and then just watching his videos, and then you go back and you watch his videos from the 80s when he was in his prime, and how any man, any human can move like that is wow. And just the way that Roy Jones announced it, it's either Roy Jones is super relaxed and super confident, or Roy Jones just like he needed a check, but he knows he's going to get his ass knocked out.
Yeah, I feel like you go back to an old Rocky movie, Rocky 4, where Apollo Creed fought Ivan Drago. I hope it's I hope it's not like
That's
that.
the vibe. That's the vibe I'm getting. Tyson is Ivan,
Right.
and Roy is Apollo Creed. He's gonna come out there in American shorts with James Brown's hologram.
Yep.
He's gonna be singing "Living in America," and they're gonna be like Tyson punches with 10 times more force than the average American, and he's gonna be like, "What if he dies? If he dies,
He
he
dies.
dies." I love that movie, man. I watch that like every day in college, man.
Absolutely. That's a great movie. All right, James Coleman, thanks a lot for coming on The Evolution, all right?
All right, no problem, man. Anytime.
All right, enjoy that cigar.
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. Good stuff there from James Coleman of 1010XL and 92.5. I tell you what, we got Rick Hughes on, but we're going to hear from our sponsors on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy. Sports Talk Television, once again brought to you by mycannabiscard.com. Again, for all your medical marijuana needs, it's mycannabiscard.com. And of course, the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol. We'll be doing a lot of business out there. Your watch parties for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your pre, half, and post-game editions of the Sports Web on Sundays. So if you can't go to the games, definitely tune in to Bucs Report and get out there to the deck, all you web heads. Let's go out to Rick Hughes from the cheap seats here. We'll get him on. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Great, man. How are you?
Doing great. And the big-time debate, if you will, we were kind of talking about this today. Leonard Fournette gets waived. He still has to go through waivers, but if he does, should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take a look at him? Why or why not?
Peter, you're the one who's been screaming the loudest that Ronald Jones is a victim of volume.
Yes.
You bring in Leonard Fournette. What the heck's going to happen to Ronald Jones? I mean, you can't. The running back position has a lot of good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Fournette's not a great running back. He had 3 touchdowns last year. He was the entire offense for Jacksonville. He had 3 touchdowns. Okay. And Ndamukong Suh, a defensive lineman, had 2. Okay. I mean, it's just not, it's not like, oh man, this is the missing piece. That's when you go get a guy like this, is when they're the missing piece. He's not the missing piece. We got LaShawn McCoy to take care of that.
Well, here's the thing now. If Ronald Jones, knock on wood, would go down to injury, would you be okay with a Keyshawn Vaughn, a Raymond Calais, a Dare, over somebody who can tote the rock, had a career year with rushing yards, also career year with catches in 76, which, by the way, Rick, it seems like besides a McCoy, these running backs have a problem with catching the ball consistently.
I don't think Dare has a problem catching the ball consistently. I don't think that's, I just don't think that's a problem for Dare. I don't. He's looked good this camp. They've talked about it. I mean, they had a bad day one day, but in general, Dare has been the best at catching the ball from everything I've heard. So I don't know. I mean, it's, look, this is, I understand the desire to let's get another piece. Let's get another piece. Depth is always nice. And you know what? If you can get him, okay. But this is, you're going to end up with disgruntled players also, because there's only so much to go around. And I mean, it's, you keep bringing people in, especially right now. Think about it. The chemistry on this team is so fantastic. We've been sitting here talking about how amazing the chemistry is and how everybody's on the same page. And now let's go ahead and bring in a wild card, throw it into the mix, and let's see what happens. Right. I don't like that whole line of thinking. I think this team, we've all felt so great about this team, and now there are going to be fans who are like, we didn't get Leonard Fournette. I mean, this is just not a weakness. This is not a solution to any perceived weakness.
To be fair, Bruce Arians was asked about this from Greg Allman of The Athletic, and he'll say, we'll wait and see. He's been a good player. We have to see where he fits. He didn't discount it. I mean,
I don't have an argument with that. And also, he's probably coming off the practice field and has no idea that Jacksonville has said that they're going to waive him, and you're throwing something at him. And you got to give him a minute to come up with an answer.
I don't know. He was pretty pretty straightforward when it came down to Antonio Brown. He
had plenty of time to prepare for that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying he wasn't being straightforward. I think he was being straightforward. He's walking off going, probably as he's walking in, somebody says to him, by the way, the Jaguars are cutting Fournette. Be ready. You might get a question about it. I mean, that's probably how that went down. I doubt people came out to him out on the practice field and said, hey, by the way, you need to know this. I mean, I doubt it could have happened. And listen, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, no,
I could be wrong this time. Okay. I've been doing it my whole life. I'm an expert. Okay. I've been practicing. Okay. So it could happen here. And if he's on the team, what am I going to complain about it? Of course not.
Okay.
But I just don't see this as being one of those things like, yeah, we really need to add more salary cap stress. We need to, I mean, it just doesn't seem like you go after a player like this when he's when he's the piece you're missing that can get you over the hump. I just don't see that here.
My problem is you haven't heard a lot of good stuff coming out of camp about a Keyshawn Vaughn and a Clay and a Dare. And get it to me, if you compare those running backs to a Fournette, they're just guys. Just like James Coleman said, just guys at that point. So,
although I thought they'd been talking good about Dare, I think the other two, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, we kind of expected Vaughn would be a little bit limited because of Bruce Arians' comments of not necessarily getting those reps. And also, he
missed because of COVID.
Right, exactly. So right now the odds are the Bears 11-4, New England 11-4, Tampa Bay 7-2, Washington 4-1, and the Texans 8-1 with Ronald Jones the second. I just call him Ronald Jones, but 172 attempts is not enough. Averaged 4.2 and 724 with 6 touchdowns. So he was a victim of volume. And to compare the running backs you had last year, I felt like he should have got more touches than a Peyton Barber and a Dare. But still, it remains to be seen what the Bucs are going to do with this running back situation. The other point of contention, one of your favorite subjects on this show, would have to be the kicking situation. How surprised were you to hear that Mr. Ryan Suckup and Cody Parkey, who's had his other fair share of field goals missed in big games, could be coming in for a tryout?
No, I'm not. That's not. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it took this long. No, I'm not. I'm not even. It doesn't even put a blip on the radar. I mean, it's well, yeah, of course, yes, they're doing that. They're obvious when Bruce Arians came out and said, it's like it's like any other position. If you're one of the bottom 5 on the roster, it's up for grabs. That's what we're. He just said both of these kickers fit into the bottom 5 on the roster.
Mhm.
I mean, that
I
says enough, doesn't it?
Right. I keep on hearing the word consistency. It's all about consistency,
Right.
making your kicks.
Right.
To go back to the Bruce Arians comment, I'm looking for consistency on the gimmies. We can't miss extra points. We can't give away the easy points there. Kicks inside the 30-yard line should be automatic. He's right. I mean, that's what you get paid to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And by the way, let me throw in something quick just to finish up about Fournette real quick. I just want to say, I guess that he was asked. I'm not sure if he was asked. I just caught this right before I was coming on. He apparently has said I guess, wouldn't mind playing for the Rams. So I guess the Rams, even though they weren't in that list that you had mentioned, he has specifically commented on the Rams as being a team he'd be good playing for. So.
Yeah, this is what he had to say. I'm excited about what will come next for myself, wherever that may be. Know that you will get a player who is focused, motivated, and ready to work. I mean, I hope, Leonard, you were focused, ready, and motivated for the Jaguars. But, of course, I think it was his comments that kind of doomed him with him, not so glowingly about a Gardner Minshew. He wanted a Cam Newton and felt like this team should have gone after him. For the Rams, that would make sense because of the connection with Jalen Ramsey. But to me, look, the Rams were 9-7, but are they really going anywhere this year? I mean, you have Jared Goff. They were a couple years away. They only scored 3 points. You get rid of Brandon Cooks. You get rid of a Todd Gurley. I mean, how much better do you think the Rams are this year with the Fournette?
I mean, you had Gurley, so how much better are they? Not a lot.
Right.
Not a lot. I don't think you look at it and say, again, that's not the guy to put you over the hump. Now, do I think there are teams that he could maybe have a pretty big impact with? Sure.
What are those teams that you're saying? Because
Atlanta.
Atlanta's got Todd Gurley. Does that make sense?
Okay, maybe it's just because of what I think about Todd Gurley at this point in his career.
Right.
I mean, I'm like
it's a younger version. I mean, I think Fournette is a lot younger. He's
right.
A lot more fresh than Todd Gurley. I think there's big time question marks. But what about a Chicago Bears? He's mentioned Cam Newton. The New England Patriots. Would they surprise? And he take.
I one of the first things that I put in our chat amongst the staff was Bill Belichick eating some popcorn and looking through binoculars as soon as the Jaguars said he was getting cut. So I'll be a little bit surprised if he doesn't get a good solid look there.
Okay. All right. I absolutely agree with you. So open phone lines again, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Should the Bucs pursue a Leonard Fournette? Why or why not? And then we came down to the question that I thought was getting, definitely a lot of publicity from us. What 5 players would you sign next year? You have decisions with Chris Godwin, a Rob Gronkowski, a Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, a Levante David. Who would you sign? 2 players. You get 2 guys. 727-255-0391.
If you can only sign 2 of those.
Only 2 of those.
That's right. Brutal. I mean, I would say Levante David for sure. Okay. Who were the other 4?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get back to that. Let's go out to Johnny, one of my favorite web heads and callers here. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Welcome back.
Okay, a couple of things.
Yes.
Rick Hughes. Man, why on earth would Bill Belichick be looking at a running back when that's their number 1 stocked position? They'd be looking at a wide receiver before.
They're not stocked, and if you're not talking about one being available. I mean, Leonard Fournette's available. That's why we're talking about it. They're not that stocked, and the offense is going to be an entirely different offense this year compared to past years. Because what are you going to compare? Tom Brady and Cam Newton, they're running a different offense.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
That running back class is a lot better stock than you think it is. James White just showed out last year, and he's got a rookie behind him that's just as good. So I don't see any way that they're looking at the running back. If this was a wide receiver, maybe I don't know what Belichick's got against wide receivers here lately, but I would go that way.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't know what New England's doing, but they sustained a lot of losses. Of course, Brady, but not only that, 8 players opting out. You wonder what the impact of that is. And look, they have a talented defense, but you're losing a Hightower, you're losing a Chung, you're also losing an offensive lineman and a Cannon. So to me, and then also Cam Newton coming into a new offense, and I don't even know if he's healthy or not. So there's a lot of questions in New England, unlike previous years.
Oh, no doubt that's correct. I mean, I don't know that we're dealing with a situation where, I mean, Leonard Fournette is a name. I mean, to be honest with you, he's primarily a name from college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been good in the NFL, but he has not been a spectacular running back. You don't rush for 3 touchdowns and call yourself spectacular. So I don't see him as being this, oh my God, game changer no matter where he goes. I think he had potential. He's got chronic ankle problems. There's too much going on there. So
I honestly think that Vaughn has more potential than Fournette right now.
Absolutely agree with you.
I think you could be right about that, but you just don't know about Vaughn because, again, he got such a late start. That's where I'm at.
We didn't know about Jamal Dean last year until
that's true.
Right?
That's true. You're absolutely right. It's a different year though, like you would say. So it's totally different from a regular year. That's where I'm going with it.
Well, all of this is just speculation anyway.
Sure,
so,
of course it is. Of course it is. We got 13 days until the Bucs start versus the Saints, and we got 10 days. And the other story here with the running back situation is Alvin Kamara. I think I was shocked by Adam Schefter in his report today. 3 unexcused absences, and it looks like it's a contract situation where Kamara commented on this when McCaffrey got his deal. He wasn't worried about a contract. Now, all of a sudden, he's worried about a contract. So, Johnny, how do you see this situation playing out?
Like every other contract dispute goes, they're going to work something out eventually. But Kamara is too important to that team.
Do they have the money to do it? That's what I'm saying. I mean, it seems like the Saints are always cap strapped, always. But yet
you can move the money to next year or the year after.
You
just guarantee it. You give a signing bonus. You prorate it.
Yeah, I just don't know why they haven't taken care of it already. He's highly productive running back. Really hasn't been hurt. I mean, last year he had an injury, but besides that, he's been a highly productive running back, and he's an integral part of that offense.
Who said this was my hot take. Who said this division's going to come down to Atlanta and Tampa?
Well, Atlanta still has Carter as an offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. I just go for it. Atlanta can do whatever they want to. I think the Bucs are going to sweep them this year.
I do too, and I think it's the inability of Cutter. Everybody says, welcome back, Cotter, but Cutter, how he can use that running game. He's never been good at being able to use a running back. He's never been able to do that. Besides maybe a Doug Martin, that was his first year, and that's because Lovey was telling him what plays to call. He was in his ear.
They were pretty darn good. Atlanta was pretty darn good when he was the offensive coordinator there.
Yeah,
he made Matt Ryan.
Did he? He made Matt Ryan. I think his receivers and a Julio Jones. Maybe I think we're probably giving him too much credit. But
I don't like him as a head coach.
Right.
I don't. But remember, he also earned becoming a head coach when he was the offensive coordinator here in Tampa. If he was that bad, they never would have even looked at him. So, I mean, it's easy to, because I don't like him, it's easy for me to want to agree with you. But one of my least favorite teams is the Falcons. But I'm telling you, I live here. I'm telling you, as much as I hate the thought, I'm telling you, keep an eye on them.
Okay. All right.
Here's my point on that. Atlanta has had Super Bowl talent on that team with Cotter as offensive coordinator.
They had horrible injuries last year on defense. By the way, the Lightning just won.
There you go. We got some breaking news here, Johnny Dean. The Tampa Bay Lightning have eliminated the Boston Bruins. Joshua Cole Allen, come and pick up your jersey, buddy. You'll be wearing J. Cole. You'll be wearing some Tampa Bay Lightning gear on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Hell, I think I'm going to make you wear it on your show, The Audible, for 2 hours, buddy. How about that? There you go. So the Tampa Bay Lightning.
How about we get Joshua to call in? I'm going to hang out. Let's get Joshua to call in.
Yeah, I need Joshua Cole Allen to call in. Thanks a lot, Johnny Dean, for calling Evolution. All right, there you go. So Lightning have won the game 3-2 in overtime. Once again, another long game, but a big-time step. And now they go to the Eastern Conference semis, and it's looking like it's going to be the New York Islanders.
Yep.
That I think that's good news for the Lightning. I definitely think it's good news. So if you want to comment about that, open phone line 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the webheads here, read some comments, and then we'll get back to it here. Sorry, yes, it was a third round pick. We read that. Bringing that passion. Sorry, I'm late, Bucs family. It's okay, Yaj. Scotty is far faster than either Amendola or anyone Brady has thrown to in that spot. Congrats, Leo. Terry says, do you think we are ready for the Saints? Let me ask you, Rick Hughes. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are ready for the Saints after listening to Coach Arians yesterday, how the offense stunk? How do you feel?
Look, maybe they stunk yesterday.
Right.
He's been saying they've been looking good. He's been saying Brady looks good. You don't know until you know. I mean, when it comes to week one, this is the first couple of weeks are going to be weird. Anything can happen in week one. Anything. This is not going to be a normal beginning to a season. Do I think that the Bucs are ready for the Saints? I think it's more interesting to say, are the Saints ready for the Bucs when they're having all the little issues that they're having?
Yep.
I don't think the Saints are ready. I think that's where what you have to look at. The Bucs may not be as ready as they're going to be in week 3, 4, 5, but the Saints, look, everything for the Buccaneers is looking positive. Everything has gone well so far, knock on wood, that they stay injury free. The Saints are having all kinds of little issues, little things happening this offseason. It has not been a smooth and perfect offseason for Breeze or the Saints in general. I just look at it and I say, I don't know that the Saints are ready. No, do I think they're going to be better as the year goes along? Yes, absolutely. But right now, look, the Buccaneers are catching them at the right time.
Yep.
I mean, this is actually really set up nicely.
Yeah, it really has set up nicely. And then on top of it, you have no fans. I wonder what the impact of that is. I get it.
Right.
And sound. So it's going to be loud, but still no fans there. And then on top of it with, the offseason in itself with Drew Brees and his comments, you wonder about chemistry there.
Right.
You hear different things. You hear about Kamara. You hear about their injury situation. And they just don't know what to expect. There's no preseason tape. Not that you can use it anyway, but there's nothing really out there that's going to identify this Bucs offense. And traditionally, if you look this up, the Saints do not play well early. They usually start out slow. So
listen, they've made it 2 years in a row to the NFC Championship game and kind of been robbed. Something along the line, something along the line is liable to be a hurdle that they can't get over at some point. Well, and I mean, if Drew Brees gets hurt, what I wouldn't do for a pick six going our way.
I know you would. I know you. I know you would. And let me correct you now. They got to the NFC championship game versus the Rams. I believe they got to the divisional or the wild card. They got eliminated.
Okay, that's where they kind of had the pass interference call again. Okay.
Yes. But they did get eliminated. Didn't get all the way to the NFC championship.
Oh, that's right.
They did lose to Minnesota twice in the last 4 years. So it's crazy. Vaughn is this year's Jamal Dean. Wait till after midseason and watch him flourish.
I can see that.
It's possible. Gaither was probably going to smash Hillsborough anyway. It's tricky at the prep level, though. Congratulations, Leo, once again on his retirement. Let's see. Tim says, production-wise, Fournette is better than any running back on our roster. He should at least be considered, especially if we can get him for a good price. That being said, if signed, I also think there should be conduct clauses in his contract, which is another thing that we've kind of touched upon tonight with the
Why wouldn't you say the same thing then about Antonio Brown? And I'm not saying that, okay? Peter, calm down, breathe, brother,
Yeah,
breathe.
Good. I'm good.
Okay. Just why do you
How
want
dare
to?
you? You mentioned him on my show. No, it's
Why would you want to bring in a possible chemistry disruptor? And that's the only thing is, again, partway through the year, you start giving Vaughn carries. He's not getting the carries because of LaShawn McCoy and Rojo. It's a potential stumbling block.
Yeah.
And I just don't even want to introduce it. I just don't even want to go there.
I think again, he comes to that locker room. Tom Brady is going to hold him accountable. If you get out of the line, if you're not dialed in, I think you're not going to start. I think that's how it goes down.
Yeah, remember Antonio Brown was in New England, and remember how that worked out. Josh Gordon. It's not like you automatically have Tom Brady and no one acts up.
Well, the reason why Antonio Brown got kicked off the team is because all these allegations came out. But he had one game. I mean, but he's more of a cancer than Fournette, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I absolutely agree. But to just pretend that Tom Brady is going to cure, that doesn't. No,
there's definitely question marks. There is some cons, but like James Coleman said in Jacksonville, a lot of people characterize him as a bad guy. He just doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. Just seems like, maybe he's had some problems in his past and some stupid things. I don't know.
I just feel like there are better places for him to go to prove himself.
Okay.
I think let's say he had done this a year ago. Let's say he was out of Jacksonville a year ago, spent a year somewhere else, model citizen, did his job, didn't get injured, blah, blah, blah. Then you bring him in.
All right. Rays win down with the Yankees. So now they're 4 up. It's been a great day.
Yeah.
Sports. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning who close out the Boston Bruins in Game 5. They're done. They're on their way to the Eastern Conference semis. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's been a great year. A year with adversity, with not having Stamkos, and still this team finds a way to win. And I think the difference is the grittiness, the physicality that they acquired at the deadline. And there we go. All right. Y'all heard of Alvin Kamara not showing up to practice because of his contract. Absolutely. Cordell Stewart was a Taysom Hill type of quarterback, and he took his team to the playoffs. I guess you can make the comparison. I'm not sure about that.
I just don't think we have any clue about Taysom Hill. I just don't think we have any clue. I think that's still such an unknown that anybody who has an opinion on him, you're just throwing darts. I mean, you don't know.
Well, you don't know what's behind you there. It looks like a cat that's behind you, that black cat. So hopefully
there's a cat behind me.
Yeah, there's a cat behind you. It's amazing. Let's see here. We know you have a cat. All right, we'll be right back with Rick Hughes.
Right down here.
Let's see. Bolts win, says Blake Anthony. Bolts win, advance to the next round. Lightning won 3-2. Everybody is rejoicing right now. Love it. Vazzy had 47 saves. He has been standing on his head. You want to talk about the reason why the Lightning have been so successful in this playoffs? Start right there with the goaltending. Let's go out to Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay, also up for best of the Bay this year. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing? You're on with yours truly, along with Rick Hughes.
Doing great, guys. And, congratulations to you too, Peter, also up for nomination for Creative Loafing Best of the Bay. And we have 2 more days of voting left. And I know we've had some supporters out there that have given us a vote, and we appreciate it. And don't forget, you can vote again and get her done. Yeah,
7-time nominee, maybe 7 times the charm. Who knows? Sports Web is up for the internet radio show. Really don't call it a radio show, but it's kind of like that. It's
the evolution.
It's the evolution. That's all I'll call it. And best upcoming radio person.
There's not a category for evolution.
No, there's not.
Well, there is, but it's messy.
It's called high. Would you shut up and be quiet with that? We're not taking this to the gutter tonight. All right, what's on your mind, Ray Kennedy?
I wanted to tell you guys that, just going over the games in the years past, I mean, God, even when Mike Smith was, again, the dumpster fire of a Mike Smith defense, our Buccaneers speed and our linebacker positions, we've Kamara's gotten off on us once or twice, but we've generally, and especially again last year with, shutting teams down, only averaging or allowing other teams to average 78.3 yards per game. But with the strength and now the speed and the strength we have in the secondary to eliminate those long Michael Thomas throws, or and to still have those linebackers to cover the short and cross the middle game. What if I told you guys that the Saints aren't even the team that scares me the most of the teams we play this year?
What's the team that scares you the most, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy?
The Buccaneers themselves. And when I say that, what I mean is when we hit that Sunday night Chicago game, and a week later Monday night New York Giants, and then 2 weeks later we're here at home against the Los Angeles Rams, the schedule is just so much that it really has to remain game to game, because
Sure.
Especially for the Saints, I like our talent, I like the matchups, because football is a game about matchups, right, guys?
Absolutely. It's all about matchups. It's about, getting that mismatch nightmare and putting yourself in the right situation to win. And you talk about the Bucs, a lot of expectations, not only offensively, but the way that defense played in the second half. Can they do the same thing versus a Saints team who, by all accounts is very talented? We talk about Kamara and Michael Thomas, and you have Emmanuel Sanders, and they find ways. They get the most out of their guys. Latavius Murray, I believe, is still with them. He's still productive. So you shut down Kamara, you have to deal with him. And then defensively, they're pretty good too. Cameron Jordan and a Marshawn Lattimore, who's done a good job. I mean, they've got some beef in that defensive line, so it's not going to be easy. Could be a shootout. Could be a low-scoring game.
Well, I'll tell you, Peter, and I'll direct this one at Rick. I think Rick will probably agree with me on this. I'd like to know what he thinks about it. And that is, we can talk about Tom Brady coming in here in Berkeley Prep and getting the guys running and coaching from within a team, and all the leadership skills he's meant, and all the other players that are stepping up, and then the veterans overall that we have on this team. But the part about it is, with the young guys in the nucleus, you can tell them all about it. You can put them to bed every night in their hotel room, and you can have Ndamukong Suh reading the Getting to the Championship book to them as the rookies go to bed. But the truth of the matter is, when we start hitting those, and it's not a question of they're going to suddenly stop learning how to play, but conditioning themselves, pacing themselves, and going through there with the necessary, stamina and attention they're going to need. Rick, because that's the one thing about a young team you can't teach no matter what you want in camp, and that is the pitfalls you're going to get as you have success going through these, nationally televised games.
Well, one of the very cool things about this team is Tom Brady's coming in, and Tom Brady is, we were talking a little bit ago about, is Fournette the one to get you over the hump? Brady is that guy. Brady and Gronk are the ones who are taking you there. Listen, this team was hungry for winning. Mike Evans talking about how badly he wants to watch his teammates win, even more than himself. They said, are you really disappointed after this loss? I forgot which loss it was last year. And he said, I'm disappointed for these guys. And he looked around the locker room. You have a roster full of people who are all pulling together. Now you've got the final piece of the puzzle who comes in and just galvanizes everything. I mean, if you look at the attitudes, the words coming out of their mouths, everything, this team, Tom Brady, I know the last guest said winning is what changes a culture. I hate to disagree. I'm going to disagree a little bit, only in the sense that you watched the Buccaneers last year and you hear them now. Can you genuinely say that the culture has not changed?
Oh, 180 degrees.
It's no longer we're behind our quarterback. We're behind him. We're going to be behind him all the time. He's our guy. To now you hear, oh my God, this is awesome. Let's go get him. There's just a completely different mentality. The entire culture has changed. Guys coming in the off season to work with him at Berkeley Prep. Everything about this team is different. The culture is entirely different. And I brought this up before. It's not just the players. It's a culture change is not just the players on the field. And people tend to think that. But there are massive signs that the culture changed coming from within the organization itself. Now, maybe I'm a little more, I'll use the term sensitive to this because I've worked with different organizations. I've worked with different NFL teams, and I see the difference between the teams. This team is acting like a championship organization.
Well, Rick, I'll tell you what, and here's what I was getting at. And tell me what you think about this. Even I can make an argument for the reason why the Bucs should play all 16 games on this roster and on this season. I can make an argument where I have matchups. I mean, you got a Patrick Mahomes, and you've got some different things, tricky matchups. But
I hope you're not going where I think you're going.
Well, my thing is when we play that Sunday night game, and then we go 4 days later, we're nationally televised again on national TV, and then 11 days later with a game in between, we have another Monday night football game, and we see it sometimes at the college level, like with an LSU or a Clemson, where that sometimes they'll just say, wow, this team just came out flat tonight.
Yep.
And that probably one of the things, and that's what I mean, that I'm most worried about, not any of the 16 teams, but how do they get through that 5 or 6 game stretch? And it is brutal if you look at that schedule.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely brutal, but at the end of the day, schedule-wise, they're going to be prepared. This team was prepared last year. They went through a brutal schedule. And look,
this is nothing by comparison.
Yeah, they were somewhat, I would have to say they were somewhat competitive in most of those games.
Right.
So they're used to it. It's not like they're a young team overall, have veteran leadership. And once again, we keep on talking about it. Maybe we talk too much about it, but you can't talk enough about it. It's the Brady effect, and it's Tom Brady, and he's going to when he comes into that locker room, he's going to be a guy that expects excellence. And if there is guys out there that are not giving their all and not giving 100%, or they're flat, he's going to let them know about it. It's the accountability factor.
Peter, you made a great point there.
It's hard to picture Brady's just kind of showing up flat emotionally.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
I can't see it. I mean, the guy.
But Peter, you made a great point there, is because I was talking about that national, and it is the 5 nationally televised games this year, and 3 of them, and a 3 and 3. But you brought up the point that they've already faced adversity, because last year we had a 6-month road trip where we played on 6 continents.
Seems like it. I mean, it wasn't 6 months, but it was like 7 straight weeks without being at home. So you can't get any better. It can't get any worse than it was last year. I mean, and then you got the bye week later on in the season, so that favors you. It's almost like the NFL is setting it up for the Bucs to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Listen, if they can't navigate through this schedule, then there's a problem, because it's not like this is a schedule like, oh my God, no, this is unfair. I mean, there's a stretch that's a little tougher than the other games, but the schedule's not the problem here.
Yeah.
Well, look at the draw. We happen to play the world champions in the West. We also play Denver. We play Chargers. Okay, rookie quarterback, and it's here. And we also play Green Bay and Minnesota. But you look at the schedules, and I know what you guys are saying, that it looks set up for us to go all the way. But look at that schedule. And I beg everyone out there right now watching the show, on your phone, look up next week's schedule. Look at that 5 weeks. Look at that first game in Chicago in that next 5 weeks. It's not that they're not winnable games, but it's going to be, you're going to have a team that's going to have to get up. Not only are we going to have to get up anyway, because we got Tom Brady and everyone wants to knock Tom Brady off pedestal, but nationally televised games for teams that have so many rookies, first and second year players, it's going to be a test of will and being able to
do they have a lot of first and second?
Exactly.
I don't see them as a first and two. I mean, look, you could talk about the secondary. Yes, they're very young, but they got the experience last year. Defensive line wise, it's all predicated on your defensive pressure. You got JPP, knock on wood, for a full year. You got Shaq Barrett, who had 19.5 sacks. You got a defense that learned that system. They're going to be more comfortable in the second year. And then on top of it, I feel like Todd Bowles is going to open up that defensive playbook to feature a Levante David and especially a Devin White.
And on top of that, the second year or younger guys, they went through last year's schedule. This is nothing by comparison. So to them, this is probably going to seem easier. And let's also be really, really clear about one thing. Find me a team in the NFL that doesn't have a stretch in their schedule that's a little tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're saying the last 10 weeks or 11 weeks, whatever, are going to be a lot easier, then really we can't complain about the schedule. I
mean, the Patriots have the toughest schedule in the NFL, and usually they have the easiest. So the NFL got it right this year, and it looks like they rewarded the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you want primetime games and the fan base wants primetime games, then You have to win those. And that's the problem with the Bucs.
You gotta win.
In those primetime situations, let's face it, they've come to the dance and they've been empty-handed. They went home by themselves, and that's not a good feeling. So you got to do
Peter.
Yes.
To agree with you on an earlier point when you were talking to Al. Maybe you were talking to Al, but yeah, I love Levante, and Levante's been the man. And
so Levante David, and who else? Who's your second player that you would sign?
No, what I'm saying is I think it's within the third year, White's taken over this defense, and that's why, as far as Levante, I'm not saying you still don't have him on a contract or try to keep him moving forward, but to try to sign him to a multi-year deal and up the salary that much at this point, I just don't know.
Yeah, but you're the general manager of the Bucs. Who do you want to take? Who are your two players you're going to sign out of that stack? Are you going to go with a Chris Godwin, Levante David, and Ndamukong Suh?
Shaq Barrett,
or Shaq Barrett? Who are you going with?
Well, it's Shaq Barrett, 100%. That's
okay.
Number one. But who was your other one? You said
you got Chris Godwin. We'll
see Chris Godwin again. I love Chris Godwin, but you can't spend $40 million on two receivers. Chris Godwin's contract's up next year, and Mike Evans is already our babe. I just don't know.
And there's a very, very deep draft again at wide receiver next year.
But
Keyshawn, and then Vaughn John, or the receiver we
Tyler
got from,
Johnson, right? Well,
Minnesota looks solid too.
No, he doesn't look solid right now. He
Apparently not.
But it looks like he has. If he does come back healthy, he has that skill. He doesn't have that speed that Godwin has across the middle.
Agreed.
Or is it time that we start looking and moving on Evans? Because Chris Godwin was the one you keep. Would that even be brought into the story if you kept Godwin?
No, I would say no, simply because the contract is up. There've been, you can't always keep every great player when you're deep at a position. Sometimes you're going to lose somebody, and it's not like you don't sit there and go, ouch, that's smart. And you know what's going to happen. He's going to have a good game. Let's say he goes and signs with, well, it doesn't matter, fill in the blank, whatever team. And they come back and play the Buccaneers and he has a good game. Then everybody screams, oh, look at the mistake. Look at the mistake. Look, you can't, this is the cost of being a good team. Sometimes you have to make these decisions.
You've got 20 teams out there. 15 of them think that this is their year to go Super Bowl, and they're a few players away, or they have the right. And let's say one of them loses, the number one receiver goes down, big time loss for them, just the one they were counting on. That team calls the Bucs and say, hey, Chris Godwin will offer you a first-round pick next year for Chris Godwin.
No, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to trade a guy. They're not going to offer that much for a guy who's going to be a free agent next year.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Not if they're one player away and they're all in their Super Bowl or bust too, because teams make deals like that sometimes for that very reason.
Well,
that's baseball.
Or you get like him. No, that's not true. Now you can get a deal if you franchise him. If he agrees to the franchise, he doesn't want to be there. There's things that can be worked out, but he's right to a certain degree. Why are you going to make a trade for a guy that you already know is a free agent? So,
because Odell goes down with a rookie knee injury, and I'm just saying after that.
Yeah, I know. I got you. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
But there was one other player you said of the two, because I know it's Shaq Barrett for sure. And although I'd like it to be Chris Godwin, there was one other player, Peter, on that list. Because give me the list again, the last name.
All right, the list is Rob Gronkowski, Ndamukong Suh, Levante David, Chris Godwin, and Shaq Barrett.
Oh, well, it's Levante and Shaq. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Levante, but again, at a friendly contract, like they were talking when they were talking about renewing his contract last week. I was thinking, well, maybe they're going to spread something out over 2 years so they can actually spread this year's $10 million and spread it out over a cap, and maybe thus open up another $1, $2, or $3 million this year if they were still looking for that one extra piece. That's what I've read into it.
Well, it's a good situation to have, and thank God we're not general managers. I think some of us would make the right decision, some of us would make the wrong decisions.
Rick would.
Rick would what? Make the wrong decisions?
No, the right one.
All right, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy will give you a fire the cannons there. Good stuff.
You guys have a great evening.
All right, appreciate you. There you go. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy on with us, the co-host of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. Somebody corrected me, is the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know why I said semifinals, but it is the Eastern Conference Finals. The Lightning advanced tonight as they defeated the Boston Bruins in overtime.
2 overtimes.
Yes, 2 overtimes. There you go. Joshua Cole Allen Get ready to wear
I
your.
don't hear a darn thing.
I don't
Do
hear
you?
nothing from him.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
He's
All right.
gotten quiet the last few games.
Ray Kennedy says Bucs defense has the speed to neutralize Kamara, cover the receivers this year, the speed and strength to shut down the deep corners. We own bitches.
I want to point something out. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Peter. Sorry to interrupt. He was talking about how we shut down Kamara rushing. We did. If I remember correctly, he chewed us up pretty good in the passing game.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Well, that's why he's worth so much, because he can do it so many ways, and you need running back. And that's the big time question with Ronald Jones. Caught the ball 30, 31 times last year. He's got to do a better job. Going back to Fournette, 76 times for 500 yards. Not too shabby. I get it. Only 3 touchdowns, but still, worthy. Let's see. Yes, sir. Hedman scored. That's not a surprise. Lightning win. Hell yeah. Eastern Conference Finals.
What's up with Stamkos?
Yeah,
I just, at some point you just go, gosh, it would have been nice, but it's just not. It just seems like it doesn't happen.
To give up on Steven Stamkos yet. He's still your captain. He still makes the difference on this team. If you can get him back, the Lightning are that much better, especially
we'll see if he does.
Yeah.
If they win the whole thing without him, he doesn't make the difference.
Well, I still think you can go back next year and you have that $12 million cap hit. I doubt that people are going to trade for that. Plus, again, he's your captain. There's a reason. Look, and somebody wrote this article from Scrum Sports. I'm trying to think of the name of the writer, but it was a damn good article. The reason why you have a Hedman and a Point and players like a Kucherov is because they made the commitment as a Lightning organization to sign a Steven Stamkos, and it started there. And even though he hasn't necessarily been able to stay healthy consistently or make an impact in the postseason, you still have to tie. You still have to tie your wagon to him. I feel like you do.
Why?
Because
why? We talk about other people who are not healthy that are on the Buccaneers, and you make comments about, if you can't count on him, or if he's constantly in the training room and you can't win if he's in the training room and you can't win. I mean, there's all these things. You're applying him in one place, but with Stamkos, it's like, well, it's okay.
If you're comparing Steven Stamkos to Gerald McCoy, it's a terrible comparison.
I'm not comparing him to Gerald McCoy.
And again, it goes back to him being the captain of your team. You're not going to get rid of somebody that brought all your players back. It's a commitment. You don't give up on a Steven Stamkos.
Okay, I'm not that
health issues, but it's like a hangnail. Okay, he's had blood clots and knee injuries, and he's tried to come back and has.
You're making my argument.
Whatever. Imagine being Joshua Cole Allen right now. I don't. In his Boston jersey, crying. He's weeping. Confirmed Dylan. We're just having fun here, Joshua. Don't get into your feelings here. He needs to get on and take this speed
like into him a little bit.
Get over it. Tampa Bay, Bucs report beating teams from New York and Boston the same night. Good day for Tampa Bay. Absolutely. Facts, J. Cole. Yaz says Johnny Dean Bay. Who's calling in? Oh, that would be Johnny Dean. Let me read the rest of these comments and then we'll get to Johnny Dean. Stand by here, Johnny Dean. Let's see here. Bay and Ron says, at this point, what money will we have left to sign him, though? Would be $2.24 million according to Over the Cap. Let's go out to Johnny Dean. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, debuting his new show on September 13th at, I don't know, a floating time, but
whenever.
Go ahead, Johnny Dean.
Well, I got off. I messaged Joshua. Joshua says that he's putting his kids to sleep and then he's going to go grieve.
He's going to grieve. Okay.
Oh, that and hide. That's there's another word for that. It's hide.
It's called a Boston fan.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But
grieve.
I kind of put this on Joshua.
Yes, put it on Joshua.
That's what he gets for wearing a Bruins jersey on the Bucs report show.
Right, and he wore the mask like he was Tuukka Rask.
He was yapping.
He knew when Tuukka Rask opted out that basically the advantage was with the Lightning, and still he was a homer, okay, and he embraced the whole Boston Bruins thing. Oh yeah, they're going to beat Tampa Bay, but it was a good series, tough series, but it
was not.
Well,
it was 4-1.
A couple games there. I'll be gracious. Okay, I won't be like you, Joshua Cole. No, man, you're good. Just have to wear that lightning gear. I'm not buying it for you. That's not good. You buy the lightning gear. You wear it on your show. Maybe I'll come on.
I think Keith's got a lightning jersey. He's
does he?
sending to
That's
Joshua.
great. Well, there you go. That'll work.
Just come on. He just needs to come on and own it.
Yeah,
Come on. He was man enough to step up and talk trash before the series started. Be man enough to take your beating. Seriously. I mean, if you're going to talk beforehand, if you're going to talk about it before it happens, look, come on. I mean, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. It's his turn.
Yeah, that's
Get your
it.
butt up there on the dunk tank.
There you go.
Yes.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. The Lightning are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who they will face, we have no idea. It looks like right now with the 3-1 lead, it's going to be the Islanders who have the 3-1 series lead. That's not the score right now. And, of course, the Flyers beat the Lightning before the playoffs started to get the number 1 seed. So that's your number 1 seed right there out. You have the New York Islanders and you have the Tampa Bay Lightning. I feel pretty good about the Lightning's chances to get to the Stanley Cup final. How about you?
What?
Hello?
Are you asking me or Rick?
I'm asking both of you guys. How do you guys feel about the Lightning getting to the Stanley Cup final with the Islanders in their way?
They seem like they're playing like they seem like they're playing like a complete team this year.
Okay. I agree. I think the Lightning are playing.
What do you think about this?
Team.
This, Peter,
yes.
this should put you and Ray Kennedy over the top right
yes.
here if you stop and think about it.
Go for it.
You might have 3 Tampa Bay teams in championship games.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's certainly a possibility with the Rays whooping up on the New York Yankees, now 4 games up in the AL East. You have the Lightning and their success, and you know how I feel about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. I don't have to say it because it'll piss you off, but I'll say it anyway.
Oh, no.
Or bust.
Don't say bust.
Okay,
because
Super Bowl.
If you say bust, you cannot be excited about anything next year.
I'll be excited any year ever. As long as I'm here on Bucs Report, taking your calls and listening to Rick and Ray blab about nothing at all. I mean, Rick, you do good stuff, but Ray...
Listen, he's tried to dig himself out of that one.
Who's calling in here? I think this may be Joshua Cole Allen, so I think we should take this call. Right, Johnny, I'll let you go, all right? Let's go out to the phone lines here. Yeah, later. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats.
Yeah, I don't need the introduction to all that bullshit.
Easy now. Easy.
Simmer down.
Now, what's
it's a Friday night show, right?
No, it's not a Friday night show. You must be drunk. This is a Monday night show.
We have to drinking to ease the pain away.
Easy. All right, let's talk about it.
I'm more upset because, Chara. We're losing Chara most likely this year. It was a hard-fought battle. You guys obviously have the better goaltender. Bassey played his brains out, so all the credit to him. Hedman, he's a great player. Of course, we beat ourselves. That second game, Charlie McAvoy with those 2 goals shot off from Hedman, not playing down in front of the net properly, and there's some big mistakes that we made, and obviously, I'm gonna root for the Boston, win or lose, but it's tough.
You didn't beat yourself. The Lightning beat you.
Hold on a minute, guys. Do we have some breaking news here? Because Best Virtual Edit says Bucs are signing Ryan Suckup. Is that breaking news right now?
If it is, that gets me takes the diversion away from me.
Best Virtual Edit's video. I mean,
Joshua's hoping it's true.
If it's true, Ryan Suckup was great with the Ravens.
Yes, it is true. Tom Pelissaro.
All right, there you go. So go ahead, give us the terms here, Mr. Joshua Cole Allen.
The Bucs have agreed to terms with veteran kicker Ryan Suckup. Source said terms not immediately available, but change potentially aloof in Tampa. And I just want to say that I drafted him last night in the Bucs Creator Content League.
Saw that. Very good job, by the way. Yes.
Foresight's everything. So
yes, it is. Who's been the one saying about kicking from the beginning?
Jeez. I mean, and we have that here on the Sports Web. That breaks here. I don't think there's anybody else on right now in the Tampa Bay area, just saying. So Ryan Suckup is now officially a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. What is the future for Matt Gay? What is the future for an Elliott Fry?
I mean, Elliott Fry's out of here, but Matt Gay, man, he's got what, 4 days of kicking it for his life, or he's out of here. Obviously, we know this is not a year for Bruce Arians to give anyone the benefit of the doubt. This is a year where they're going for the championship to win it all. And if
you got breaking news, you got breaking news music in the background.
Yeah, that's what I was working on.
I mean, we need to get that. I guess we need to get that here. But yeah, that's according to Tom Pelissero. Okay,
Go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. So Ryan Suckup, according to Tom Pelissero, has signed a 1 year. How much money now?
I haven't seen the money. Terms not available immediately.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
If anyone has sources, you know.
Well,
I can tell you that I feel a little bit better.
You feel a little bit better now?
This has been a good night. You're right, Peter.
Well,
there's at least there's another option. We know we had two options, one of which, if both of them weren't looking so great, we bring in one other. At least now we got another option that we can look at, and it ain't gonna be worse.
Well, we'll see how it works out, but definitely now we have a kicking battle. It looks like we had a kicking battle. Now we really have a legitimate one because they signed a Ryan Suckup.
Yep.
Obviously, they liked what they saw out of him, and we'll see how this goes because this could get real dicey, if you will. Gay, a 5th round pick, a lot of expectations, big time leg, but once again, it goes back to guys consistency, and this kicking game has not had it. They have not had it.
And Peter, the thing about their tryouts today, they were not on the practice field. They're in the stadium. So you know that they were kicking towards that south end zone. And obviously Suckup did enough to impress, especially over a guy like Parkey. So now I foresee them all three of those guys getting inside of that stadium almost every day. Watching and making sure seeing what
that's awesome. What a beautiful that's just awesome. I hope that's what they do. Just take them there, all three of them, every day, and just let them battle it out. That would be exactly how you need to handle this.
Parkey there, I don't know why they brought him in, but there's a lot of
just
Bears
another
fans.
guy,
competition
just
guy, another guy. That's it. Speaking of a guy, how about a Leonard Fournette to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? You like that move? Do you think the Bucs should explore that? Would you do it? What are the pros and cons here, Joshua Kowal? And get out of your beer there with the Boston Bruins. Start talking football to me.
I would have loved Leonard Fournette before the LaShawn McCoy signing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the problem with that, too, is this is a guy who hasn't been a great leader. He hasn't been, a great person for the franchise in terms of, molding and everything like that. So I think LaShawn McCoy gives you more. Obviously Leonard Fournette has had some, impressive seasons. And if you play fantasy, and most people do, you look at his fantasy numbers and you're like, this guy's great. But
he's a younger guy. He had 76 catches last year. And what I'm concerned about here,
the locker room effect. And I believe
so you don't think the locker room is strong enough for a guy like that?
I think this locker room is strong enough.
Okay.
But I think a guy like Shady is going to help, and he has helped immensely. We've heard it from all the running backs that we've talked to.
Okay.
Bring those guys along and be that mentor and teach them the intricacies of the game. Something Leonard Fournette doesn't know. He's still learning as a pro. He's and just the whole situation that they couldn't give him away for a 6th or 7th round, Peter.
Well,
for this guy.
Maybe there was reason that a lot of teams out there knew that he was going to be cut eventually, and that they would just get him on the market for whatever they wanted.
No, but he had to go through waivers, though.
He still has to go. He still has to go through. We'll see if any team picks him up.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Million.
If you wanted to shore that up and make sure you got the guy, you give up a 2022 6th round pick conditional to a 5th round pick. I'm sure they would have jumped at that. They would have jumped at anything.
I'll tell you something. A player on this team that thinks highly of Leonard Fournette and Fournette thinks highly of him. And look, he may be a defensive voice on this team and somebody that could get into one of these coaches' ears. That would be Devin White. So, hey, I'm just throwing it out there. Don't kill the messenger.
To play devil's advocate here.
You're a devil because you're a Bruins fan. Let's
put
that out there. You don't have to be devil's advocate. You're a devil.
Just to play the good side, because I don't want him signed here, and I don't think it's a good signing. But to highlight some of the the things that could possibly work.
Okay.
Tom Brady last year with the Patriots, he had a guy like Sony Michel, James White, Rex Burkhead, Brandon Bolden, and Damian Harris. 5 running backs on that roster. Right now, you have really 4 running backs and a French guy with Calais. So you bring him in, you're pretty much doing the same thing. You got yourself your, James, Sony Michel, and a Rojo. You have your James White type deal with a better and a better runner and Fournette. You have your Rex Burkhead as your LaShawn McCoy, Dare Gungbwale as your Brandon Bolden, who's your big special teams player. And then you have a young rookie who pretty much has a redshirt year in Keyshawn Vaughn. So, I mean, if they want to go that route, it comes down to dollars and cents, and it comes down to if they can carve out a role for him on this offense. To me, I feel like the roles are already assigned, and pretty much you know what you're given and know what you're getting. But they want to add a guy. They're going – obviously, they don't care about Matt Gay's draft status and anything like that. They're going all in for it. And if you can help this team and come in at a decent price, go back
to Bruce Arians' comments today. And we're on with Joshua Cole Allen, our camp correspondent here on the Evolution, along with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. We'll wait and see. He's been a good player. We have to see where he fits. He could have denied it. Could have said, you know what? We have no use for him. We got enough room. But my thing is, if Ronald Jones goes down, knock on wood, you're going to have to depend on a Keyshawn Vaughn who's unproven, and he's already a little bit behind. You have a Raymond Calais, you have a LaShawn McCoy, but we know McCoy can't carry the load. We know that he is what he is, so I'm just preparing for it. I'm just saying, what have you heard about a Keyshawn Vaughn, a Dare? We forgot a Dare. How those running backs looked, and does it seem like Arians is disappointed in his running back situation right now?
I mean, Dare's had an impressive camp. He's going to be Dare. He's going to give you good pass blocking. He's going to give you an outlet out of the backfield. Not a very strong runner, and the biggest strength of his is his core special teams play. He's, a core special teamer. He can return kicks. He plays on almost all the units, and he's going to be that guy. Keyshawn Vaughn, obviously, we know he had that prolonged stint on the COVID-19 list, which has kept him behind. And, he's had some opportunities in practice. He had an opportunity in that scrimmage. He fumbled the ball away, which was recovered by Will Golston. So Bruce Arians said after that, I don't care who you are, how long your status is here, you can't give the ball away. We know how Bruce feels about that. And earlier in the press conference, he says, he's really not where he needs to be. He'll probably start the team maybe on kick returns, not necessarily as a returner, but at least on the team, the unit. And Raymond Calais said, he hasn't really gotten much action as a kick returner. He's mostly been a gunner on the special teams unit. So they're not using him as a big running back option. And it's very tough too with this camp, because without the preseason games and with the delayed start,
you're going to bring in Fournette at this point. It doesn't make sense. Joshua, let me ask you something, Joshua. On this team, which running back that is currently on the team is the closest parallel to Fournette?
Shady McCoy in his prime.
No, on the team now.
Nobody
has the same sort of skill set.
I don't think so.
That's my point. I mean, why take a chance? If you have an opportunity, you get him at a cheaper deal. I mean, we're talking about Dare, Calais, and Vaughn. I love it. Sounds good, potential, but you got a 2-year window. If you got an opportunity to get better at that position,
you have a 1-year window,
right? Peter. I mean, that's what. Look, you're preaching to the choir here. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I won't say it on the show because Johnny Dean will lose his mind and have a heart attack.
I'm going to lose my mind.
A lot of players next year.
Will you shut up, Rick Hughes? Yeah, go ahead, Joshua. I'm sorry.
I said, I'll say it. Super Bowl or bust.
Super Bowl or bust.
Players. You're gonna have to.
He's a Bruins fan.
Lose some of these guys.
Yeah, that's all right.
But you just said it, Peter. 76 catches out of the backfield. I believe 1,100 rushing yards. No one on this
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, maybe that's because he's the whole offense, so they're stacking the box for him. You got a throwing quarterback. So come on now. Come on.
Exactly.
Listen. Here's the thing. Bruce Arians made it clear. Okay, if you're the second best cornerback on the team, and the third best is good on special teams and you're not, the third best is going to make it. Now, really, are we going to throw Leonard Fournette out on special teams? No, but you're going to put Dare out there, aren't you?
You're not putting LaShawn McCoy out on special teams either.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to bring in another one.
Okay, but if you have an injury, Rick, are you confident in a LaShawn McCoy or Keyshawn Vaughn or Calais or Dare?
Do I think that we have depth at that position?
I
Sure.
didn't ask about depth. I didn't ask about that.
Starting.
Guys that can start to come in right away and be as productive as Fournette.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I believe we have guys who can catch the ball.
Okay.
I believe it. I mean, here's the thing. Fournette, like you have said, Peter, here tonight, he may not even be on the field. So you're worried about somebody else getting injured and you want to bring in Fournette to fix that problem, a guy with chronic ankle problems? No, this is not the solution. I hear you. Look, if he signs, let me say this. If he signs,
everybody fresh.
I'm going to be happy and behind it. But you don't have a lack of people who are going to come in and keep everybody fresh. Peter's screaming all the time, victim of volume. And now you're like, oh, we need to bring in somebody else. It makes no sense.
It makes sense because he was a victim of volume. It has nothing to do with the whole victim of volume. You still have to get Ronald Jones touches, and you will.
Not if you're bringing in a Fournette.
You're not going to live on one running back because it's not going to happen. You're going to have.
You did last year. Listen, you're replacing Peyton Barber with LaShawn McCoy, and now you want to bring in Fournette, and you think that somehow or other, Ronald Jones is magically and mystically going to all of a sudden have more volume? It just doesn't. It's a math problem.
I think you can split the carries. It's a good math problem to have. Joshua Cole Allen, we got to run. Thanks a lot for coming on the Evolution. All right.
Not a problem.
All right. See you soon, buddy. Absolutely.
Peter, you brought up, do I think the locker room can handle a Fournette? Yeah. I think the locker room could have handled. I didn't want him. I did not want him. I'll say it again. I did not want him, but the locker room could have handled an Antonio Brown, but you don't want to.
No.
Okay. It's not like the locker room is going to disintegrate if somebody comes in like a Fournette or whoever. Right. No.
I think a Brown is a little bit different from a Fournette, but we'll debate this throughout the week. We'll see what happens because we should know something here in the next couple days. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, go ahead and promote yourself. A great show coming out, debuting here live on Bucs Report. Go ahead and talk about it a little bit.
All right, September 13th. Be there. It's the first live from the Cheap Seats. We're going to have a great time talking football. Watching, you're going to have Sunday Night Football on. You can talk about that, talk about the games from the day. We're just going to have a good time there. If you want to know where to find me, just go to cheapseats.live. You see it down there, not .com. Go to cheapseats.live. My Twitter is there. My Facebook is there. Hit me up. Let's talk.
And we do that here respectfully. We talk, we debate. Mr. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, thanks a lot for your time on the Evolution.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, there you go. Good stuff there. I love a good debate, and I tell you right now, I love when Tampa Bay teams win. The Tampa Bay Rays beat the New York Yankees 5-3. The Tampa Bay Lightning defeat the Boston Bruins to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And ladies and gentlemen, only 12 days left until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the New Orleans Saints in the Big Easy. For another edition of the Sports Web, do 3 things for me on this early Tuesday night for Tampa Bay triumph. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blank, and I'll see you tomorrow night. We'll start with the Outkick Show at 9 o'clock with Jim Levitt. And then at 10 o'clock, it's the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Have a good night. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.